Good. This is kind of a crazy thing we put together, and I'm excited for this. So what's going to be happening, as you guys know, in about 2 or 3 minutes from now, I'm going to come up here on stage, and we're going to be creating an actual product called the ExpertSecrets Masterclass. And for a couple of reasons. One is it's been fun as you guys are all getting your books, people are reading them, we're getting questions back. I thought it'd be fun to go deeper. And number two, I want to create a product that we're going to be selling. I'm out of breath. I've been running around behind the scenes, so you guys are literally behind the scenes right now. So we've been kind of preparing everything. What was cool is that yesterday we got tons and tons, like hundreds of you guys submitting questions about each of the different modules, which is nice. So it gave me a framework to kind of start putting together to find out what you actually need. I didn't want this just to be like, let me teach you exactly what's in the Expert Secrets book, because hopefully you got the book and you're reading it. So the goal is not just to kind of regurgitate this in a different way. The goal is now that a lot of you guys have it, we kind of know where things are at, and it gives us the ability now to adjust this training to like, okay, where are the sticking spots, where people kind of getting, not figuring things out, and let's help kind of smash through those. So that's kind of the game plan. So anyway, I'm hanging out right now. I'm going to go on stage. When I go on stage, we're going to have a little video cut, and when it comes live, I'm going to be live as if, like, because this is an actual product we're recording. This is going to be in a training course here in the near future, but you guys get to watch this live. So if you're having a good time, I'm not pitching anything right now. I'm just going to be teaching all day today for the next 3 hours, basically. If you have any questions, just put them down below. We got people here that are going to be trying to respond to questions, finding them out during the breaks, giving them to me so I can try to do it during the training. Also, please share this. It is live right now. We will be taking these videos off. There will be no replay, but while we're live, I'd love if you guys sharing, get people on. And if you're having a good time, give me some hearts and some whatever things, just because it'll make it more fun. So I think that's it. You guys all ready on other than that? All right, so I'm going to go on stage, and then we'll start, and we'll be actually teaching the product. If you have your book, get it with you. Get out a pad of paper, notes, stuff like that. And we'll spend about an hour going through session number 1. Oh, sweet, here's my schedule. This is very professional. All right. Okay, all right, so that's the game plan. So we'll start here in about a minute, or about 20 seconds. Hey everyone, my name is Russell Brunson. I want to welcome you to the Expert Secrets Masterclass. I'm so excited to have you guys here today. And I'm excited because we had a chance to kind of put together this program a little bit after we had done our initial Expert Secrets book launch. So obviously we've sold, at this point we've sold over 50,000 copies of the book. They're being sent all around the world, everywhere from America to Canada to Australia, New Zealand, like they're going everywhere. And now it's been fun because we're getting all the feedback and things coming back and people telling us what they like, what they didn't like, what the questions are. No one's really told me what they didn't like, so I appreciate that. Outside of one thing, we did change the title based on feedback. The initial title, in fact, on this copy, is The Underground Playbook for Creating a Mass Movement of People Who Will Pay You for Your Advice. The second, I think the first 40,000 were printed with that cover. After that, we've changed that to The Underground Playbook for building it, for finding your, I can't remember it now, top of my head, for finding your voice, building a tribe, and changing the world. So that was based on your guys' feedback. That was more relatable, which I totally understand. So that's what the Expert Secrets book is about. I hope you read it. During this training, I'm not going to be kind of regurgitating what's in the book. It's all in the book. That's for you to go read and study and understand. This training, this masterclass, is kind of, now that we've got it out in the hands of the world and people are reading it, I'm getting all sorts of questions and feedback, people asking me things like, and so I wanted to use this masterclass as kind of like, now you got the book, you've read it, these are the common things people are getting stuck with, and this is, if you understand and master these pieces, it'll give you what you need to be able to execute and have success. So that's kind of the game plan of what's going to be happening during this class. Now, just kind of give you guys some outline of what we're going to be covering so you know where we're going. Obviously, if you know where we're going, it makes the whole journey a lot better. So right now, this session I'm going to be talking about you, an expert. In fact, one of the number one things that, are we doing okay over there? We're good? Okay. Sorry. Everyone behind me is running around like something's wrong, so I want to make sure things are okay before I... Okay. So session number 1 is called You, an Expert. And the reason why is because a whole bunch of... I'd say that the number one question and concern that people had coming into this is like, I'm not an expert. I don't feel like I'm like, how do I become an expert? How do I do without feeling like I'm lying? Like, how do I actually do this in a way that's ethical and cool? And like, what if I don't feel like I have expertise? What if I don't feel like that I have the ability to actually do these kind of things? And so that's what I'm going to address during this first session. After that, after the break, we're going to come back and we're going to be talking about creating an irresistible offer. Having knowledge, information is good, but if you don't know how to package it in a way that people want to buy, then the whole thing's not going to work. And so session number 2 is going to be talking about creating an irresistible offer. I'm really excited for that one. And that's everything we're doing today live. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about, we have a longer session going into the big domino, which is what is the one thing you have to get your customers to believe to get them to follow you, and so basically it's like a big domino. How do you knock down that domino so they have to give you money, they have to follow you, have to listen to you so you can serve them? And behind the big domino is a lot of core concepts I want to make sure you guys understand between story selling, how to structure your stories, and a whole bunch of stuff. So that's happening tomorrow. After that, I'm actually going to be doing live from this stage a perfect webinar. And I'm doing it because I want you guys to see the process in action. If you've read the book, you've heard about it, you've heard me talk about it, you've probably seen maybe people do webinars. I'm going to actually do one live here, and you'll see the whole process. You get an understanding of how the whole thing works. And then the next day, Thursday morning in the morning, right here, I'm going to come back. I'm going to break down everything I did during that presentation. So you have a chance to see the whole thing, watch it, study it, see what I do, why I do it, how I do it. Watch everything. There's all these little intricacies that I'm doing. I'm not just making these things up. There's a reason behind all of it. So I want you to watch that and study it. That'll be tomorrow and then Thursday morning we'll have a chance. So I'm going to break it down and kind of show you guys behind the scenes of the whole thing, which will be fun. And then after the break, then we'll come back and I'm going to talk to you guys about the virtual book tour. For those who know, when we launched this book, we kind of invented a new thing called the virtual book tour, and we did some really cool intricacies that made it work. And from the book tour, during the first 30 days, we had over 3 million people who actually watched our videos from the book tour, which is crazy. I would have to be on CNN every hour for like a month to get that many views. Maybe not. I don't know the actual numbers of CNN, but you get it. We got a lot of traffic from that. I want to explain that process, kind of a bonus module as well. So that's what's happening over the next 3 days. You guys excited? I'm excited. All right. So with that said, I've got about an hour to cover a process that I want to share with you guys. So the title of this session is this. It's you, ... an expert. All right. So, like I said, after over 50,000 people got the book, and before we started this masterclass, we asked them, what's your number one question about you being an expert? And it's funny because when I was writing the book, that was one of my biggest fears, is that I know a lot of people, they probably don't feel like an expert sometimes, right? I'm curious how many of you guys out there are I don't know if I can do that. I'm not comfortable with that. I know that somebody came up to me 14 years ago when I got started, Russell, this is the deal. You're going to become an expert. You're going to be on stage. You're going to be writing books. I would have freaked out. Literally, it would have caused me so much pain and anxiety and fear that I wouldn't even attempted to think about it. And that's my one fear about sharing this is I don't want people thinking I'm not an expert, so they just discount the whole thing. That's the key is you have to understand you have to become the expert. You have to become that expert, right? So how do you do that? What's the process that you go through? If you look at me when I got started in this business, again, 14 years ago, I was a super shy, nerdy guy. If you ever seen those pictures, I had a buzzed head, glasses. I always wore a shirt and tie because I thought that's what business people did. And it was really painful and scary. I didn't know, and it was tough. In fact, it's funny, recently I took one of those personality tests, and in the personality test, when I came back with all the results, it told me that I was super hyper introverted. And I was oh, weird. Because I always feel I like being on stage, sharing, giving, but then one-to-one, I'm very introverted and nervous. I think a lot of you guys are that same way where you are introverted. In fact, I'm curious, how many of you guys listening, I can't see you right now, but how many of you guys would identify that saying that you're more introverted? Okay, my guess is 90% of you guys probably feel that I'm introverted. And 10% of you guys are nope, I'm extroverted, Russell, I'm good to go. I'm going to fast forward to the next module because I feel that I'm ready. I hear the voice in my head, the burning, the desire, whatever you want to call it, I want to share my message. But the rest of you guys, you see it, you feel it, but you have all sorts of doubts and inadequacies and all those things that flood in, right? And I can relate to that because I had that. I still have that to this day. Before we started today, I'm why am I teaching this? I'm a little kid. I talk really fast. I mumble all the time. But it's weird because when you have something inside you that can share and help other people, you've got to figure out the tools and you've got to understand it and learn it because it's worth it. It's what gives you the ability to start contributing. As you read the Expert Secrets book, one of the big themes I talk about a lot at the beginning is how each of us in our lives, we go through a phase of growth, right? You think about when you were little kids. My kids I've got 5 of the coolest kids ever, and they're all in this growth phase where everything we say, they're learning it and sucking it in, and they're doing this and that. And yesterday, Dallin, my oldest twin, he wants to start a business like crazy, and so he's got a ClickFunnels account. I finally got him an email account, and he wants to like buy stuff on Amazon. And so I was kind of explaining stuff. So I had him going to AliExpress.com and Googling for stuff that he would want to buy, and then going to Amazon.com and seeing how much more was over there. And we're trying to find products for him to buy here and sell there. And he's getting all excited, and he's like trying to buy this big old thing of fidget spinners, and he's going to try to sell them at school. But everything I tell him, he's like a sponge, like jumps on AliExpress, and he's Googling or searching like crazy. He's going over to eBay, to Amazon, to Walmart. Like he's going all these places trying to research. I'm teaching about researching, and he's like a sponge, right? And so that's my little, one of my little 11-year-old twins. But in school, they're the same way. They're learning, they're growing. And then what happens for most of us is we go through this phase, we're learning, we're growing, and we go through, elementary school, junior high, high school, and some people at high school, you're like, done, this was horrible, I'm out. Some people go, I'm gonna go to college, and they learn a bunch of stuff, and then the worst thing happens. Like the worst thing bar none, you graduate from high school or college, whatever, and they give you the certificate. And you take the certificate, you look at it, and you're like, I'm done. I know stuff. And for some reason, most of us, we stop growing. It's just done. Like, okay, I got this. And then we go into our profession, we start doing this stuff that we think we know. And most people, like, they stop. And it's insane to me, but that's where they stop. Now, my guess is if you're here, you're a little different, right? Most of us that are here, not most of the world, most of us who are here, people who would have heard this message and would have resonated with you, most of you guys, that wasn't enough. Either you got done, you went in the workforce, and you realized, like, I'm screwed, I don't know anything. I know that was for me. I remember my college graduation. I'm sitting here in an auditorium full of kids. We all have our hat and our cap and gowns. And everyone's cheering and celebrating. And I'm sitting there as like probably one of the few entrepreneurs in the group. And I'm sitting looking around, and I was like, that was it? Like, I just graduated from college, and I don't know anything. Like, my degree was in computer information systems. Like, I'm supposed to go and become a coder? I don't know how to code. Like, we had written code on paper. And I remember looking around, and everyone's so excited, talking about parties and stuff. And I was like, I am so grateful that I'm an entrepreneur. I got this thing happening on the side, because these guys are all screwed. They're going out there in this world, and they have no skills that were actually beneficial for them to do their jobs. And I don't know what happened to most of those people, but I'm guessing they went into the workforce and realized, I don't know what I'm doing. They had to figure things out. And some loved it, and some resented it, right? Some resented it because, like, man, like, I didn't learn these things. Now basically, I'm starting from scratch. And that's honestly what happens in most people's lives. It's really frustrating, right? But there are a percentage of people, and again, my guess is that one of those is you, because you're here, where you still have that burning desire to learn. And so you just go through this phase in life, you're learning and you're growing and you're studying. And for all of us, it's different, right? Some people, they geek out on like health and fitness, and they're like so obsessed with that. Some people, that's the most boring thing in the world, and they're obsessed with the marketing. Some people are obsessed with finance. Some people are obsessed with, it could be one of a billion things, right? And what are you thinking about for you, when you're not studying for work or for school or for stuff that bores you, like what are you studying? What are you Googling on? What are you blogging? What videos on YouTube are you watching? What podcasts do you listen to? Okay. Now, if you're just listening to music and you're reading comics and stuff, that's one thing. And if that's you, I recommend, highly, highly recommend, especially if you want to become an expert and if you want to sell things in the future, it's time to turn the radio off. It's time to stop reading comics and like find something you're passionate about. And I can't believe we probably had 20 questions come in overnight. People are like, well, I don't know what I'm passionate about. I have no idea what I'm passionate about. Like, you have no idea what you're passionate about? Like, when you wake up in the morning, what do you want to, if you had nothing to do today except for like go on Google and look for something cool, what would you look for? If you don't have an answer to that yet, like, it's time to start living, like finding some stuff. Go and like, probably need to get out of the situation you're in, stand up and leave, go walk across, go jump in a plane and fly somewhere random and like go meet some people or something, but you got to find something that gets you excited and fired up, okay? Otherwise, it's hard. So what happens though is that most of us, we find that thing, right? And for you, hopefully know that thing, and you start studying and you're learning and you're geeking out and you're getting all this information and it's getting stronger and stronger inside your head. But eventually, no matter how much you study and you grow, like there comes a point where you can't continue to grow. It's this weird thing. When I learned about marketing, when I learned about wrestling, when I learned about any of the things that light me up, like there was a point where I kept growing and growing, then you kind of hit this like stagnation spot, right? In lifting, they call it a plateau. You're lifting, you hit a plateau, and it's like, oh, I can't lift anymore. I can't increase my strength for some reason. I'm hitting a plateau. Like, what is it? And that plateau is because you can only continue to grow so far by studying and learning alone. And then you will hit a plateau. Everyone does. It's impossible not to. And the only way to transition from this plateau and to break through it, just like in weights, you can't keep doing bench press every single day. You hit a plateau and you're not going to grow. You have to do something radically different. You have to have a huge change. When you do that, that is when that's when you have the growth. And so the change when it comes to learning and understanding is becoming an expert, is sharing, is contributing. shifting from like growth, which is a me thing, to contributing is like helping other people. And you shift to that helping other people, that's when you're going to start continuing to grow. And there is no ceiling that I know of from contribution. Like you will continue to grow and progress, and it's going to be the most amazing thing in the world. Okay, but there's phases in this, right? You talk about, there's cool songs or scriptures in the Bible about, for every season, there's a time for every season, right? There's a time for growth. There's a time for contribution. And so depending where you are on this path, like you look where you're at, like have you grown yet? Do you have something to share? If not, like it's time to grow. Like what do you want to learn about? Like we did a workshop here in this room 2 weeks ago called doubleyourreading.com with Howard Berg, and we trained 200 plus people how to speed read. Like go learn how to speed read, go buy 10 books on your topic and go geek out. Like you need to go through growth before you can contribute. Okay? A lot of questions are like, well, how do I become an expert? You start here. You start with you. It starts internal. You've got to grow before you can contribute. Okay? But after you're growing, like the logical progression is I'm growing, now I must contribute to continue to grow. And when you understand that, like that's the game. So look at like where in the timeline, like there's different time and season for everyone. What time and season are you in right now? Is it a growth phase? Is it time to transition to contribution? Like figure out that is, but become aware of it. So you become aware of it, like cool, I'm in my growth phase. It's time to geek out. Let me go buy every single product, course, book, training, podcast, and YouTube video, everything I can find on this topic. Let me immerse myself and really understand it. When Howard Berg was here in this room, the world's fastest reader, he's read over 30,000 books. What he told me was interesting. He said that most people will go and they want to learn topics, so they'll read one book on the topic and they're like, oh, I know everything there is about God, health, religion, fitness, finance, whatever that book was, right? He's like, that's wrong because you're getting one person's perspective. He said, what I do, because I can read 30 books a minute, he's like, I will go and I will read 10 books on the topic, and then I get a clear picture of like what the actual truth is. And so for you, it's that time. It's time for you to evolve. It's time for you to start growing, and you do that by going through your growth phase. Okay, figure out where you're at and grow. Okay, and understanding that, but know that I'm growing with a purpose. It's not just for me to grow for myself because that's selfish. It's good. It's personal development. We need to personally develop ourselves. But there's a point. The reason why we're doing that is so somehow we can now start contributing these gifts we have to other people. Okay, so that's the understanding. It's like where in that cycle are you? Okay, and being okay with that, because some of you guys are trying to do this when you haven't done this yet. Okay, all right. Now a couple things as I kind of go through. So I want to take you guys on a journey during this presentation. So here is the presentation. Here's where we're starting. This right here is you. It looks kind of like you guys, right? If it's a girl, it might be a little different. Anyway, younger, taller, shorter, but that's kind of you. Now, the first question a lot of people kept asking me was like, well, what should I do? Like, I don't know what to sell, what to be an expert in, what to learn. And so it's kind of two things that I like to think through. Number one is like, what are you passionate about? Okay, what is that thing that you're like, again, like when nobody's looking, that you're studying, you're learning, what podcasts you're listening to, what are you reading? Like, what are you passionate about? You got to figure that out. Okay, and some people this is super easy, some people it's really hard. I've got people that I love dearly in my life that struggle with this. Like, well, I'm not passionate about anything. I feel dead sometimes. Like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, I understand that, but like you gotta find something like we have 24 hours a day. Okay, like you can you're searching and looking every single day, thinking like, what am I passionate about? Like, what makes you feel good? Okay, this whole game, as you'll learn as we go deeper into this, is feelings. Like, what makes people feel a certain way, right? So everyone is passionate. Now, if you're not passionate about anything, my second thing to kind of look at is marketing. So if you're not passionate about anything, which I don't think anyone really is, but a lot of people believe they're not. Second thing, like, were you passionate about marketing? Because maybe you're here. Maybe you're in my book or my other stuff, and you're geeking out, you're watching all my stuff. Maybe the thing you're passionate about is marketing. You're like, Russell, I'm not going to be a marketing guru. That's what you do. That's what so-and-so does, whatever. And I understand that. But maybe it's, and I've got a lot of people I know, a lot of people that work with me who they may not necessarily be passionate about a certain thing, but they find someone who is. Okay? It's okay. I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk a lot this weekend. One thing he kept talking about is like, it's okay to be a number two person. Sometimes we think that we have to be the person on stage with the mic. And he's like, everyone can't do that. A lot of times it's okay to be the number two. In fact, number two is like a lot comfortable position. So maybe it's you're finding someone who's passionate about something. Maybe you don't care about fitness, but you're really excited about this marketing crap that we talk about all day long. Maybe that is what you're an expert in. And so you take this person who is passionate and excited about something and partner with them, and you can become the marketing person to that. Does that make sense? And then you can study and geek out and become like the super ninja marketing person here. and you can serve this person here, and together you take people on this journey. Okay, so if you don't feel like you are extremely passionate about something, find somebody who is. And I'm going to assume that because you're here, you're passionate about this, about funnels, about marketing, about sales, about and hopefully you are. Otherwise, why are you here? You're watching a 3-hour live stream in the middle of the day, right? You're watching this course, you paid $1,000, wherever it might be, wherever you're consuming this right now. Like, if you're here, it means you've got some passion here. Am I right? So you've got one of these two things, okay? And sometimes it's both. And that's totally cool as well. But you got to figure those things out. So you don't always have to be the expert. It could be the number 2 for the expert, and you work with them, but you focus on the marketing. And this could turn into something beautiful as well, as I'll kind of show you guys here in a minute, okay? So that's the first thing, understanding that. The second thing you have to understand is that no matter what it is you are doing, the reason why you are going through growth initially, and the reason why you are going to be starting to contribute, is not because you just want to feel good and you're all fluffy and happy and just kind of like this spinning the thing that never ends. Like, there's a reason, there's something you're trying to get, there's a result, right? And I want to focus on this because this is the key. You have to understand, like, if I can spell right, result. There is a result that you are trying to get. The reason why you geek out on health or fitness or biohacking or finance or fitness or real estate or engineering or whatever it is for you, like the reason why you geeked out on this is because you want some kind of result from that thing, right? Otherwise, why are you doing it? There's some result you want. You want a job, you want a girl, you want to make money, you want to feel good, you want to lose weight, there's some result that you are trying to attempt to get by growth, right? A lot of times we do stuff we don't know why, but you gotta stop and think, why are you actually doing this? Why do you care? You have to figure that out for yourself first, because that's going to drive what you are trying to grow through. Okay, if I'm just reading to read and that's all I'm getting, there's no point to it. If I'm reading because I got to figure out how to get this thing's actually important to you, it makes this light on fire. Okay, when I was in school, I hated school with a passion. Hoping someday in 20 years from now my kids watch this video, 10 years from now, whatever. I struggle with school. Why? I'm sitting there, teachers give me this book, I'm reading all this crap that doesn't even matter to me at all. I'm struggling to give me tests and I can't remember anything. People told me I'm slow, they told me I'm dumb, I barely graduate. I struggled because there was never this. What's the point of this? I never knew what was the point. Okay? Fast forward a few years later and I got into my first business. I started selling potato guns, I started selling stuff online. And all of a sudden, I remember the first time I read a book and I was like, I'm not a reader, I'm not a smart kid. My whole life I was labeled as dumb, right? I always labeled myself as dumb. In fact, if you asked myself in college, if I was smart or dumb, I'd have been like, I'm pretty dumb. I'm a wrestler. I'm not that good at anything, right? But as soon as I read this first marketing book, and I read it, and I was like, this is kind of cool. But it didn't really light me up a lot. But I learned some stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try something on my little business I had. And I tried something over here, and I got a result. And I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. I learned something, I did it, I got a result. Holy crap. I read something, I did something, I got a result. And all of a sudden, this growth phase went from to it caught on fire for me. I was so excited. And it's I started buying book after book after book. And if you ever come to the ClickFunnels office and you walk in the room over there, there's a bookshelf that wraps the entire wall. That is the bookshelf after we threw out 2 bookshelves from the last office when we moved over here. I literally, for the next 10 years of my life, was deep into this growth phase where I was buying, consuming, and learning and implementing every single thing, because every time I learned something, I would try it, and I'd get a result, or I wouldn't. Sometimes I didn't, and that's okay. I was like, oh, that actually didn't work. But this one did, and the ones that gave me results, that's what fires you up. That's what makes this growth phase of your life so fun and exciting, because you try something and it works. You get a result. Okay? And what's going to happen is you start getting these results for yourself because there's a point to this thing. It's not like you're just reading to find out where in the world Christopher Columbus hit on the globe so you can recite that someday to your kids. There's no point to that. But for you, if it's health, right? Anthony D. Clementi, Biohacking Secrets, so one of our students, it's interesting, he was doing stuff, and it wasn't until he came down with a horrible disease. It took 2 or 3 years to figure it out, and finally he figured it out. He's like, wow, this is what my disease is. He did something, got a result, and helped. Then he's like, oh my gosh, let me try the next thing. And he started this huge growth phase. We started learning all these little biohacks. From there, he's built a huge company, teaching, talking, helping other people. But it started with him. Okay, and it didn't get him excited until he had this result. So for you, got to figure out, you be very, very clear, what is the result I'm trying to get, first off for myself, and second off for my audience. What is that result? We got to be super hyper clear. Okay, and the more clear you are on this, the easier everything else is going to come as we go through it. Okay, tomorrow we talk about selling. If I know the result I'm trying to get somebody, it becomes really easy to sell them stuff. If I don't know the result, I'm just like, yeah, you're going to learn this, and you're going to take this course here, and you're going to blah, blah, blah. Like, no one's going to give you money. People don't give you money for a training course. Nobody wants a training course. Training courses are boring, except for this one, right? But training courses are boring. They want the result. This is the only reason they're going to give you money is this. And so if you haven't, first off, gotten that result for yourself, they're not going to want to get it for them. Okay, so this growth phase is all about this. What is the result you're going to get? And I promise you, when you are super clear on, I need this, I'm trying to lose 50 pounds, I'm trying to make money, I'm trying to figure out my finances, I'm trying to figure out, like whatever that, as soon as that becomes clear to you, and you start doing stuff and it gets you closer and closer to that, you will light on fire and this whole thing will become super fun. All right, so there's the result. Okay? All right. Now, there's a journey that you're going to go on that's going to take you from here eventually to the result. Okay? Now, one of the big questions that we got back from you guys in this phase for this first module was like, well, I'm not really an expert yet. If I start trying to sell something, like, I don't feel congruent with that. Like, it's this weird thing. Like, what do I, and I understand that. Like, I remember when I first got started, I had a bunch of my little things, my potato gun DVD and a couple other different products I was selling at the time. And I remember there was this guy named Joel Christopher, the master list builder. And he was selling this course. It was like a $1,000 course on how to build a list. This is, 10 plus years ago. And I remember watching him. I remember he said, he said, this is 2 years of my life into this course, and I'm finally selling it. And I was like, 2 years? I'm like, man, that's a long time. I was like, I can't wait 2 years to sell something. I remember being so frustrated because it took him 2 years to create this thing that he started selling and making a bunch of money with. And looking back now, it makes me laugh because that was so long ago, and it's like 2 years goes really, really fast. But he put 2 years of his life into figuring out this result so he could share it with other people. Now, for you, it doesn't have to be 2 years. Like, time is not the important thing. Sometimes we think that. I think school jacks us up that way because we're like, oh, you got to go to school for at least 4 years here and then 6 years here. So we think that like time has to do with like how good we are getting results, and that's crap. It doesn't matter at all. In fact, I talk about this in the Expert Secrets book. Tony Robbins, when he started learning about NLP, Neuro Linguistics Programming, when it first kind of came out. And he was like, I got to learn this stuff. So he went to go to the certification program. I think it was like a 6-month certification program. He's going through there, and after like 2 days, he was like, oh my gosh, we have tools to go help people. And they're like, no, you can't. You're not certified. And he's like, but we can help people. And they're like, no, you're not certified. And he was like, oh. So he like left wherever the thing was at. I think he went to like a Denny's or a 7-Eleven or something. He started like grabbing people and like healing them, fixing them with this tools that he'd gotten. I think eventually they kicked him out of the certification program for practicing without a certification. And I think it's so funny how our society, like, they think that time is the key, and it's not. Like, I've seen people who've become successful, not overnight. Like, there's a lot of foundational work, but it doesn't. You don't have to have 2 years to get this. Like, if you get good at getting a result, you can do it fast. Okay, change happens in an instant. We know that. So if you can get that change for yourself and you can get it for other people, like understanding that is the key. Okay, so I don't really think it takes 2 years, but there's a result over here. Okay, and so what I want you guys understanding, because part of this is like in 2 years from now or a year from now, you're going to be here and it's going to be easy. You're going to be in front of the camera, talking and sharing, and like I want you to understand like that's where we're going. But there is this like journey from here to here that you have to go through before you become an expert, before you feel comfortable, before you're like not awkwardly, like talking in front of a camera. If you watch videos from me 5 years ago, I did not dare to look at the lens. I would look at the ground. I was like, hey guys, welcome today. And it was funny because I always thought like my eyes were small. I watched my old videos and now I look back and it's like, because I was looking down, like you just saw my eyelids. That's the reason why. Like I can't talk like this. It took me 5 years to be able to be like, hey, and talk directly to the camera. So there's a process of you becoming, there's stuff that has to happen on this journey. I'm going to walk you through this stuff here in a minute. But the first thing I want you to understand, I'm going to come back to this and there's going to be a piece in the middle we're going to share. So the result, right? So hopefully you have gone through this growth phase, getting a result for yourself. Then the next step in this process is not to go start selling something. That's where I wish I could grab especially network marketers. I love you all, but like, especially there, like you go sign up for network marketing program, give you some products, and you're out there pitching it that same day. I'm like, God, and it's the same thing with like every product, every service. Someone gets an affiliate link, they start spamming it out. There's the due diligence you have to do of like, okay, this worked for me. Will this actually work on somebody else first? Okay, if I do a network marketing program, I took a product, I'd be like, dang, this worked for me. Let me see if it works for anybody else. Like that should be the first thought, not like, cool, let me sell this crap, which I understand. We're salespeople, we like that, right? But like, first thing should be like, okay, this worked for me. I wonder if it's gonna work for someone else. And you come back here and figure out like, okay, I need to get somebody a result because if I can blow their mind, then I know it works for me and it works for somebody else. And that's the key, right? If you've read the .com Secrets book, if you haven't, please go to .comsecrets.com, get your copy. But in the very beginning chapter, I talk about, if I can find it real quick for you. It's always hard to find things when you're live on camera. I talk about the secret formula. Boom. Secret number 1 on page 13. I don't know if you can see this on camera now, but the secret formula. Who's your dream client? Where are they at? What's the bait you're going to get to get them? And what's the result you're trying to get to them, right? This is what we're talking about here. So the first step, though, is before you go and get a result for somebody, you got to figure out who is the person you actually want to serve. Okay, and I want you to think through this. Otherwise, I talk about this in the book. You wake up like me one morning, hating your customers, wishing that somebody would fire you because you're not happy with the people that you're helping. This business is all about people. If you don't like the people, you're gonna be miserable. So I want you to get very crystal clear ahead of time, who is it that I actually want to serve? Who is that person? What do they look like? Is it men? Is it women? Are they successful? Are they not? Are they athletes? Are they doctors? Are they who is the person that you would love to hang out with in a room and just talk with all day? Okay, when I did one of my business resets, and by reset, I definitely do mean failure, near bankruptcy, starting over from scratch. Sounds better when I say reset. But yeah, I've crashed my business multiple times. And after one of my crashes was man, I hated my customers. And I sat there and I was like, well, who would I actually want to serve? If I could pick my dream customer, who would it be? And I remember visualizing this person, and then I was like, there's no way that person's going to actually work with me. But I was like, well, what if? And so I had these results for myself, and I went out there. I was like, I got to find one of my dream clients. And so I had a list of 5 or 6 people that I liked. And for me, I like working with entrepreneurs. That's who I'm passionate about. And I was looking at all these different entrepreneurs in different markets. And I remember one of the people, and there were a bunch of them, but one of them was Drew Canoli. I was going through a juicing phase in my life, and I was watching Drew, and I was seeing him. I was like, this guy is awesome, and he's cool, and he's doing cool stuff. And he had a big following on Facebook. And so I had a mutual friend introduce us. And anyway, I got to know him a little bit. When I was in San Diego with my family, I went and met him for a little bit. And when I was there, I had this feeling you should see if you can help Drew. And so I was like, all right. So I asked Drew, I was like, hey, do you mind if I come back in a month or so and help you guys? And he was like, well, what's it going to cost? I was like, I'll just do it for free. I love your stuff. I love your juicing. I think you're cool. I'll come back out and spend a day here in your office, give you guys, I'll help you and just see what kind of results we can get for you. I was like, these are results I got for my business. Let me see what I can get for your business. And I had to go fight him back and forth 3 or 4 times before he was okay to be okay, I guess you can come. And I think he still thought there was kind of catch. But anyway, so I flew out there to his office. I get in this room with him and his team. And we literally sketching things out. He had no whiteboard in the room, so we're on the windows sketching out models and funnels. And as I got in the room, we started talking. I walked in. I felt this feeling of despair. I could feel it when I came in the room. And I was like, oh. It just felt weird. I was trying to be all happy, Russell. But I was like, these guys are in a lot of pain. And I asked them what's the, give me a lay of the land, what's happening? And they kind of showed me their numbers, and I was like, oh man, it was worse than I thought. And they said, we don't have too much longer left. We're gonna shut this thing down because we're just not profitable. And he's like, we're doing over $1 million a year, but we're not profitable. I don't know what to do. And so we sat down, we mapped out some funnels. They had an idea for a supplement. We helped map out a supplement funnel, and then the next 3 or 4 weeks, I helped them and coached them through everything. And I remember I got a Voxer from Jamel on his team. Voxer's a walkie-talkie on their phone, and he messaged me about a week into it, and he was a week before they launched the supplement, and he said, man, he's like, Russell, we've had so many people who've come to try to help us, and every single one of them had an angle. Every single one was trying to get our list or get us to do that, whatever. He's like, you haven't asked us for anything. You just came and you helped us. And he's like, I just want to thank you for that because it's just really refreshing. And they launched a supplement funnel, and it blew up. Launched, it was doing $15,000, $20,000 a day. I think year 1 it did $20 million in a year, and it's gone on to become this huge supplement company. And that was kind of me getting the result for Drew. I was like, cool, this crap works for me, crap works for Drew. Who else can this work for? And the coolest thing is then I didn't come out and tell everybody hey, I'm Russell Brunson, I'm an expert, I am so smart. Because that's annoying, nobody likes that. Okay, nobody will like you if you do that. So there you go, I'm saying it, okay? I don't know, some people get away with it, but I hate that. But what was cool is that Drew came back and he made a video saying, Russell, dude, Russell worked with me, this is what happened, here's the results, and shared his story. And then that video we captured, went on a page, there's a button underneath that said apply to work with Russell's Inner Circle. In about a year and a half, we filled up my Inner Circle. It's $25,000 a year. In a year and a half, we filled up the entire thing. And right now it's sold out, and there's waiting lists, and people they don't leave. They stay in every single year because we only have 100 people at a time. And it came from me getting a result for somebody first, okay? So I want you guys to understand that, it's not cool, I'm excited about this topic, I'm gonna make some money. It's like, no, you're cool about this thing. Get the result. Like, what's the result you got from it? Get somebody else that you would like to work with. It's like a profile of who you would love to work with. Hey, Drew's like my dream client, right? And guess what happened? When I told Drew's story, people like Drew started coming. Other entrepreneurs who were successful started coming, and all my customers were people like Drew. It was like the coolest thing in the world. So if you got to figure out who's your dream client, find that person and serve them. Help them. Help them get that result selflessly without anything, looking for anything in return. And if you do a good job of it, a couple of things. First off, you're going to learn a crap ton along the way. You're going to be like, wow, that doesn't work. That didn't work. That didn't work. But if you're able to actually get them the result, you will learn so much more, because there's things about yourself. When you're getting yourself a result that you just do, and it's like, because it's your brain, you're talking to yourself all day long, like you can do it. But for you to get it for somebody else, it's different. The process is going to be bumpier. You're going to hit all sorts of hiccups and headaches and stuff, but guess what's going to happen during that journey? You're going to learn a ton about how to do it. Okay, what actually worked, what didn't work, and by doing that, that's what makes you sharp. That's what makes you solid and strong. Okay? And so that is the key. Because after you've done it for yourself and you've done it for someone else, now it's like, okay, this is replicatable. This is something that can actually work for other people. Okay, now a couple things. So the next question is like, okay, Russell, so I do that. Like, when do I actually get to start being an expert, right? And because you're here and then you're figuring yourself out and you're figuring something, like this could take a while. And I understand that. And so what I want you to understand is you learning your voice is happening between here and here. Okay, it's happening throughout this process here in the middle. Again, I've been geeking out on Gary Vee lately, and I'll talk about it why maybe in another episode. But one of the things interesting Gary kept talking about, all these people that want to be influencers and they want to talk, and they're all talking about like, what should I create? And what Gary said is like, you don't want to create, you want to document. And when he said that, I was like, yes, like that is the key. If you've watched what we've been doing recently, right? If you go to funnelhacker.tv, we're launching a show called Funnel Hacker TV, which is basically each month, or we did like 10 people in 2 months. It was a lot of work. But we found an entrepreneur and we documented us serving them, getting them a result, right? We did the whole process, launched the thing, and then we showed the before and the after. It's really, really cool. And then on top of that, we launched a behind the scenes show. So right now, I think there's 4 episodes that have been live so far, the behind the scenes show, where I'm showing behind the scenes, like what's happening. I'm documenting the process, right? So I'm documenting. So what I want you guys to do is this journey that's happening, you need to be documenting it. This is how you find your voice. It's not by doing this. You can get a result for someone and still not have a voice. You've got to find your voice. You have to become your message. Okay, if you've been to any of our funnel hacking live events, you hear Garrett White talk about this. It's all about becoming your message. How do you do it? You don't do it by one day popping up and like, okay guys, here's my message. You do it by consistently talking and telling your story over and over and over again through this documentation process. Okay? Every single person in your circle, those who are out there listening, what do I tell you guys every single day? You need to be doing at least a Facebook Live every single day. And they're like, but I have nothing to talk about. Or I did a Facebook Live and there's 3 people on my page, no one's listening. Or all these different things, right? And it doesn't have to be Facebook Live. We'll talk about it here in a minute. But a good example is Anthony. So Anthony from Biohacking Secrets, when he started his expert business, and we were coaching through his process. We were trying to sell his book and trying to sell his coaching. And it was kind of like stagnant. We couldn't get an audience. We're like, we need to build an audience. And so we told him, we said, look, what we need to do is a Facebook Live every single day. And he's like, well, where do I do it to? Like, well, to your fan page. He's like, Russell, I got 2 fans. One's my mom and one's you. He's like, no one's there to listen. And I said, okay, I understand that. But I was like, right now it's not about the audience. Like, that'll come. Right now it's about you. Like, you got to learn your voice. So we had Anthony do a Facebook Live every single day. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. And at first, nobody was listening. We would drive a little bit of traffic. We put $5 and $10 in Facebook ads behind it, try to boost it out. But what happened is that he started getting better and better and better. And then people started hearing his message. And then every once in a while, one of those messages would hit. Now, this is something that's interesting. A lot of times, I think it's because we're perfectionists by nature. Most of us are, right? We'll spend a year or 2 trying to get the presentation and the messaging right. And then we'll finally put it out there in the world. We'll launch it. And it just falls flat. And we're like, why didn't anyone want this? Like, how stressful is that? You wasted 2 years of life, you got the wrong freaking message. Okay? How would you like to know the message before? Okay, how do you find the message? With Anthony, it's funny because I told him, like, do it Facebook Live every single day till I tell you to stop. And at first, I was like, do the weird ones, like biohacking's cool, so put lasers in your nose and your ears so you're glowing so people see on the video and they're like, what's this guy doing? So he was doing those, and guess what happened? Nothing. Those people didn't respond. The market didn't care. They did not respond to that. Then Anthony made this stupid video, and I was completely upset about it because he wasted a day. He was sitting in his kitchen. He's like, I'm going to do a video about, he called it how to biohack your vegetables. And he's got some vegetables in a pan. He throws some butter in. He's like, you cook them in butter, right? And I was like, dude, we need some lasers in your nose if you're going to do a video like this. We need people to watch it, okay? And luckily, I was wrong. That video went completely viral and getting, I think, 1.3, 1.4 million views on it. And that video helped build his fan page from 2 people, his mom and me, to over 50,000 people and growing now, right? But we didn't know that's what people wanted. Even now, Anthony has 10, 15 videos before one hits, and it's like, that's the message they care about. Let me try this, let me try this, let me try this, let me try this. And you're telling different stories, and then the market will tell you what they care about. It shouldn't be us saying, this is what people want. We want the market to tell us what they want. And the only way to find that out is by telling them a lot of different messages, okay? And some of you guys, Facebook Live may be freaky. It doesn't matter what method, okay? There's different things. Like some of you guys are gonna wanna be on video. Facebook Live is your channel, okay? Some of you guys are like, I'd rather die than be on video. That's totally fine. Then podcasting should be your channel. You should be doing podcasting consistently. You're like, well, nobody's listening. It doesn't matter at first, okay? Marketing Your Car podcast, which now has like 360 something episodes, which we just changed to the Marketing Secrets podcast. But when I first set it up, I didn't know how to track how many people were listening, and I'm so grateful that I didn't. So grateful. I had no idea if one person was listening, 10, 50. In fact, it was almost episode 300 before I figured out how to actually see how many people were listening. And at that point, we had a good listenership. That was like 5 years in. Had I have known the first year and a half there were like 3 people listening, I would have stopped. But I didn't, and guess what happened? You can go back to marketingyourcar.com, go to episode number 1 and listen. In fact, Steven here in my office, he told me, he's like, yeah, the first 47 episodes or so were like, about 47, you started getting good, okay? I had to find my voice, just like you have to find your voice. But you had to do it consistently over and over and over and over again, even if no one's listening, especially because no one's listening, because now it's less scary for you. Does that make sense? So pick your platform, okay? It can be video, do Facebook Lives, or YouTube. I'm loving YouTube right now. It could be podcasting. It could be, if you like writing, do a blog. I don't care what it is, but pick a format that you're comfortable with, you know you can do daily. Ryan Stewman, Hardcore Closer, he blogs every single day, and that's his vehicle. He's a great writer. Okay, and that's how he's growing a huge following. Like, pick a platform that you love and then be consistent on it. And just know that for the first year, nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody. But it's not about them. It's about you learning your voice. It's about you documenting this process of you getting the result, documenting the process of you getting somebody else the result. And during this process of documentation is where you will learn and you will find your voice and you'll be able to communicate with the audience and people will come to you. Okay? All right, a couple things here. Good. Step number 1, here in the documentation, the goal is to find your voice. Okay, we kind of harped on that pretty good. Step number 2 is going to give you a chance to get the result for you and for someone else. Now, one thing I want to talk about here in the documentation process, I'm going to put it here in brackets. If you've read the .com Secrets book, it's funny, I've had like 5 people this week always ask me, what's the difference between .com Secrets and Expert Secrets? Is it the same book? Like, come on, I'm not going to write the same book twice. That'd be a lot of work. Okay, they go together. I would read Expert Secrets first, though, and .com Secrets second. All right, so secret number 6 on page 57, we talk about the attractive character, right? And in the attractive character, there's different identities of that attractive character. There is the leader, the adventurer crusader, the reporter, evangelist, or the reluctant hero. Okay, and a lot of us, we see experts, right? We see Tony Robbins or Russell Brunson or Grant Cardone or whoever the experts are that you follow in your space, right? You see that person, you're like, man, that person is like authoritative. They know their stuff, right? But guess what? It doesn't start there. For almost everyone, and I would recommend for you, it starts, the character type you take on initially is that of the reporter. Okay? When I got started in this business, that's what I did. I had my potato gun business. I had 3 or 4 of these little businesses running, and I was like, I got to learn internet marketing. All these guys charge way too much for coaching. I can't afford it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a course teaching how to drive traffic. And then I created this course, and then I interviewed experts. And I got the best people in the world to come on. I interviewed, I remember it was supposed to be an 8-module training course. It turned into like 38 weeks because I kept getting excited about people I was interviewing. And it was cool because like some of the topics I knew about, like I knew how to create a product. I knew how to do a couple types of traffic. But then this training course I was doing, and it talks about this in the Expert Secrets book. We do an ask campaign. We ask them, like, what's your number 1 question about this? Just like we did before this training. I asked you, what's your number 1 question about you becoming an expert? You guys gave me all the answers. all the questions, and I just have to answer now in a format that makes sense, right? And so as I was doing each module, I'd ask questions, and like one of the questions people ask, like, well, how do you do PPC traffic? And I was like, oh, I had no idea. So I was like, well, who does? And I'm like, okay, oh, that dude's like the #1 PPC guy in the world. I call him up, like, hey man, so I'm doing a training course. They want to know about PPC. Can you come on and teach these guys? He's like, sure. So he'd come on. He spent 3 or 4 hours with us teaching PPC, and I'm the guy interviewing, so I'm asking every single question. And guess what happened at the end of 3 hours? I know more about PPC than 99% of the entire population. So I run my own PPC campaigns, and it worked. Next week, they're like, I want to learn about SEO. I'm like, I don't know anything about SEO. So what did I do? I found the best SEO expert in the world, brought him in, had them train for 3 hours in my audience. I learned asking my questions. By the end of the time, I knew more SEO than 99.9% of the world. Did the same with teleseminars, affiliate marketing, review sites, on and on. Like 38 weeks of this, almost a year of my life I went through this growth phase, interviewing the smartest people in the world on how to do marketing. And at the end of the year, guess what happened? I don't know anybody who's got a more full understanding of marketing than me. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk or a douchebag or whatever you want to say. Like, I don't know anybody. It's because I went through that growth phase for a long period of time. Okay? And I want you guys to understand that, like, this documentation, like, it's so key. You are a reporter initially. And by the end of this journey, after you've been reporting and documenting this process, here you will become the expert. And then you can be whatever kind of expert you want to be. You can be Garrett White thundering down upon people and like having super absolute certainty that you're just like the person, like the leader, or more like maybe like a reluctant hero who's trying to like help people along. Like it doesn't matter. You can figure out whatever style fits you the best. But the goal is like you as a reporter is going to help you to become that. And you're going to find your voice in the sharing of it over and over and over again. A lot of people are like, what am I going to talk about? I don't know what to talk about on my blogs or my Facebook. Like, you're talking about your day. You're talking about what you're doing. If you watch Funnel Hacker TV, all it is I have a little camera back here, and I just carry it around with me all day saying, oh, we're doing this, oh, we're doing this. And like, I'm just documenting the process. And I have a guy who goes and clips it all together and makes a video at the end. He does an amazing job, but we're doing high production. Like, you don't even have to, like, you could be simple. That's what you can do on Snapchat, you can do on Instagram, you can do, like, it's just simple. You do it on your podcast. My podcast literally is me driving from my house to the office, talking about what's on my mind. 360 episodes later, I found my voice. Okay? That's the key, you guys. Like, the consistent documentation of your journey as a reporter will help you to find your voice. Okay? Number 3, and this is the key, is after you have that, you guys, number 3, you will feel absolute certainty. Most of the people that submitted the question back, your question was about that. Like, I don't feel certain that I can do that. I don't feel like an expert. I don't feel like I have anything to share with anybody. You don't right now. Okay? You got to step back to what we talked about before and say, okay, what's the result I want? Something I'm so passionate about that when I study it, it's going to fire me up. Going to bed at night will become an annoyance because I want this result so bad. And then you go through a growth phase, right? And you're going to get that. And you're going to fill yourself up. And you're going to be like, this is the greatest thing in the world. And you're going to want to serve. Even if you're severely introverted, you're like, I gotta share this. And you're going to start serving somebody else. And during this process of you getting your results, you're going to document it. And then the result of the process of you doing this with somebody else, you're going to document that process. And through the documentation process, you will find your voice. You'll get results for yourself and for others. And you will feel absolute certainty. So when you're at the end of this journey, you will feel confident, even if you're introverted, even if you're shy, to stand there and say, look, I know my stuff works. Let me share with you. Because it worked for me. It's worked for this person. You've seen my journey. Now I'm ready to step into my own and become who I need to be to serve you. And now you'll have your voice to be able to share with your audience. Okay? And that's the path, you guys. That's what it is. Now, one thing I want to come back to where we kind of started here is some of you guys, like, you know you're super passionate about something. So this is easy, right? Cool. I want to be the best in the world at this topic or this thing or whatever that thing might be. And you know exactly what it is, so you can go off the races and start running. But some of you guys again are like, man, I'm not that passionate about anything. But my question for you is, are you passionate about this, what we're talking about? If you are, this book, well, regardless of whatever you are, this book should become your Bible for the next year. But take this, find someone who's passionate about something that you can get into a little bit and say, okay, cool. Howard Berg, you're the world's fastest reader. You're gonna double people's reading. I think what you do is awesome. I'm gonna be the one that drives this thing. I'm gonna be your number 2. We're gonna push this thing up the hill. And I'm gonna document the process. Okay? One of my buddies is a chiropractor, right? He was trying to figure out funnels for himself. He figured out funnels for himself. Okay? He was passionate about being a chiropractor, but he was doing the marketing stuff, and he was doing it for himself. But what's happened, what's interesting, is he's been documenting this whole marketing process as he's been doing it. He documented all the stuff he was doing. And now at the end, not only is he's passionate about chiropractor, he's become a chiropractic expert. I don't know if that's how you say it. But he's also learned marketing. And now like this business has become actually a bigger business for him than his clinic. Because now he's sharing with other chiropractors, other docs, what he's doing and how he's doing it. And so for you, like let's say you're geeking out on the marketing, you're doing this, and you pick somebody, you pick the world's fastest reader, you pick your dad who's great at taxes, you pick your whatever, the expert in your world that you know you could help to get their message out, and you help them, and you document this process. Guess what happens at the end of it? You become, like let's just say it's a tax person, right? You take your dad who's really good at taxes and finances, you help him get a result, make a bunch of money, you document this process. Now you can become the marketing person for that industry. You can become the marketing person for people in that, whatever that thing might be. Okay, you don't know exactly what it's going to evolve into right now. It doesn't matter. What matters is going on this journey. Okay, so for all of you guys, this first session, hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, it's all about you becoming an expert. I hope it give you like the tools and the understanding of like how you do that, because you don't just wake up one day. God, I wish I could go back 14 years ago and show you guys what I looked like 14 years ago when I started my journey. Because I tell you what, first off, I wasn't wearing fancy pants clothes. My hair wasn't on my head. I was bald. I was awkward. I was shy. I was nervous. But I knew I had a result I wanted. That's all I had. And I started geeking out trying to figure out how do I get that result. And I focused on it. For years. I focused on it. And as soon as I got that result, then I got so excited. Like, I just wanted to share with other people. You guys ever feel that before? Like, I just want to run down the streets. Like, every single person in my life I ran to think of my family, my parents, my friends at church. Everyone got so annoyed with me because I'm like, do you realize let me show you what I'm doing. Like, I'm making money selling freaking potato guns. You actually have talent. Like, let's take your thing and sell. And like, I would try to share it with everybody because I was so passionate about it. And unfortunately for me, most people didn't care. And you're going to run into that too. Your family will not care about this thing you're excited about. They don't care. Okay? Your parents, your friends. My wife still never read my books. My parents, I finally got my dad to read one of my books because I gave him the audiobook when he was stuck on a 5-hour drive and made him listen to it. Like, your family doesn't care. People around you aren't going to be excited about it, but there are people who are. And as you share your message, your people will hear your voice. They will see like, wow, Mike, Joe, Susie, whoever, like, they're doing that. I want to do that. Look at the result they're getting. How happy are they? They're talking about this thing. I want a piece of that. I want to be part of that. Okay, your people will hear your voice and they will follow you. Okay, and so don't get upset when you're doing this and the people in your immediate world don't, because it's not always people in your immediate world. Some will like it. Some will get excited, but most won't. It's going to be different people. And as you put yourself out there and start sharing this, you will become who you need to be. I promise you that, because it happened to me. Like, I've become who I need to be to share my message. And again, still, the people in my immediate world don't listen, they don't care, and that's okay. But the people who do, the influencers, the people I want, they hear, and they're coming. You can see we sold 50,000 copies of our book in the first 30 days. Like, where did that come from? I'm not an author, I'm not a writer, not in my head, but I became one because of this process, by documenting. And by doing that, I found my voice, I got results, and I have absolute certainty in my message. And that'll happen for you as well. All right, so that is the end of session number 1, module number 1, called You, an Expert. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a 10-minute bathroom drink break. We're going to play some videos on the monitor while I'm getting drinks. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the next phase of this process, which is creating your irresistible offer. So now that you've kind of gone through here, you've been documenting, you've gotten some stuff like, how do we take that and create something awesome that people give us money for? And that's the goal. That's what we're talking about in the next session. So we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll keep streaming live everywhere. We'll be playing some videos while we come, and when we come back, we'll go into module number 2.
ClickFunnels. Like, again, so cliche, but it's a f***ing game changer.
Funnel Hacking Live is the one event that you need to be at. Having the skill set of knowing how to build funnels is the single most valued skill set.
I think there's a difference between watching it done and actually doing it yourself. I would say that that's the main difference.
Funnel Hackathon is super 100% hands-on. It's literally, here's what we need to do. Now we're all gonna do it together. There's none of that when I fly home tomorrow, because it's done.
This event is most suited for people who want to accelerate their story to the market.
You're really developing something. You're leaving with something very tangible. this will give you the right mentality to be able to succeed no matter what industry.
You know, when you have Russell around you all the time, all of a sudden, like, things don't seem unrealistic. It's just like, I can do this.
You enter his world where he is, and you can just see him in action. And the great thing, that action is within your business.
It's nonstop. I mean, we were at it from 9 a.m. to midnight, just learning, implementing, sharing.
It's so cool that I'm gonna leave with a product that's going to make me a lot of money.
And here it's like a totally safe, vulnerable space where you can just be like, I suck at this stuff. What am I supposed to do here? And then you have guys who have done exactly what you want to do or have done 10 times anything you've ever thought of right there next to you saying, hey, have you thought of this? Do you think that would work for you? And you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I should start doing that.
I learned more in that compressed period of time than I had in almost the 2 years of being inside of ClickFunnels.
I would pay any amount of money if I could come back and do that every month or two.
So if you're looking for an opportunity to work with amazing people and work under the guidance of somebody who really knows what they're doing and be able to get things done, it's unbeatable.
If you hate money, then this event is not for you, because it's just gonna get you more money and you're gonna make an impact in the world doing what you love most.
So I want to tell you something. Hiring Russell Brunson was bar none one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life. And I want to tell you that when you work with him, he takes you on this journey that you won't even know that that you're going to go on. Like I at the very beginning, I had all these hopes and dreams and visions, and I honestly thought that, yay, I'm working with the overnight success maker, and like I thought, whoa, I'm gonna make like $500,000 in the first month of working with him. But you know what, the eventuality is that sometimes in life it doesn't always work out the exact way that you want it to work out, and that's certainly where it got to for me. So my 2014 was one of the hardest years I've ever had in my entire life. Like, there was cancer in the family, people were in hospital. I thought I was gonna, at one stage I thought I was going to lose my partner. Like, it just wasn't a pleasant scenario at all. And by losing my partner, I mean like hospitalization, like really not, like from really bad health issues. And there were just times when I promise you I wanted to give up. And sometimes I actually, when I say that, I don't just mean give up in business. Like for me, when I hired Russell, it really was like it sounds really dramatic, but my life's mission, it's so big. Like, I really, really, really wanted to connect with someone who could get me to the next level, who could help me really get from that really stranded, grounded place, sitting at my office every single day, to a place where I'm, helping like people all around the world. And that's why I chose Russell. But man, it was hard. It was really, really, really hard at times to have to deal with those things that come up in your personal life all the time. Like, it was not an easy scenario in 2014, but I'm really, really, really grateful that I listened to Russell. I'm really grateful that I hired him as a coach. Like, the man has changed my life forever. Like, once you're, like, my mind has been blown completely, and there's no way back. Like, I know that anything is possible now.
I was almost at the point where I was ready to say, maybe I should go find a job. And that's when I said, no way, there's no way. I was lost, I was letting my business run me. I wasn't running my business. So I needed a coach, and so I found you guys via Facebook, where somebody else was already using ClickFunnels, and so I was like, what is this ClickFunnels thing? So I did some investigative work and finally came to ClickFunnels, and I was like, whoa, this is some powerful stuff. I got this software that could totally take my business to the next level, but I'm having trouble using it, like really getting my hands around it. So I'm listening to Russell's podcasts, and all of a sudden he starts talking about this Inner Circle program and this Ignite program. So I was like, I need to be involved in that. If I'm gonna take my business and my life to the next level, I need to be part of that. To really get that coach to diagnose my issues and to come back to me and say, hey, this is where you're struggling, and point me in the right direction. I never had that as a business owner. When I struggle with things or I'm stuck on a topic, I go to my Ignite members and I ask them for help. And that there is priceless, because here's other successful, like-minded individuals like myself, and they have the motivation and drive exactly like I have. So to team up with people like that on projects and stuff is extremely powerful, and provides a tremendous amount of value, to your business. Back when I was like 6 or 7 years old, I joined soccer. I was this little chubby kid, so I guess they put me in the soccer program to help me manage my weight. So anyway, I hated the game. I just did it because my parents wanted me to do it. But I don't know how we did it, but we made it to the championship game that season. And so I remember running up and down the field, and every time the ball would be on one side of the field, I'd be on the other. And every time I would try to get to the ball would be, so anyway, it was a mess. So I'll never forget this. When I remember being in the game, and I remember all the people on the sideline, and the one guy that stood out from all those people was my dad. And I remember him just screaming, go, get the ball. And I looked at him, and I don't know what it was, but it just made me haul ass down the field and get that ball, and I chased the ball down, and sure enough, I scored my first goal ever. And that was a point in my life at such a young age that said, no matter what you do, never give up, because when you never give up, the outcome is always positive, and you'll always be successful. And that was my biggest thing. I said before joining the program, I don't know if I'm gonna get my return, but if I don't do it, I'm gonna be where I'm at. So I said, don't give up, do it. And so I did, and I always keep my father up to date with my business, because he's always worried. He's my dad, so he'll always worry about me. When I told him I made my money back on the program, his text message, he's 75 years old, and he's text messaging me, and he wrote back, wow, so proud of you. And when I got that from him, it just made me, I don't know, I'm speechless, I'm sorry, but it just gave me that confidence and that reassurance that, and I always thought back to that soccer game, that you never give up. Russell's positivity and his team, like Christian and Brent and all those guys, that they all have that same mindset. Never give up, always follow through, always move forward. And to have that support is just tremendous. And I'm very thankful for Russell and his team for helping me.
All right, everybody, welcome back. How was session number 1? If you had a good time so far, give me some of the hearts and thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube, or comment or share, whatever. If you're having a good time, let me know, because that will help me get excited. So they were showing me the stats between the two. We've had Over 2,000 people watching between Facebook Live and YouTube. So thank you guys for hanging out. Hopefully that was worth the price of admission, which was free, and a whole bunch more. So cool. So that was module number 1. And I hope that cleared things up and gave you guys a lot of hope and faith. As you are posting comments down below, Steven's actually grabbing them. And after this next session, we'll take another 10-minute break. We're going to come back and do Q&A here for a little bit. So if you do have specific questions, post them down below. I don't guarantee we're going to get all of them, but we're going to spend probably, 30 minutes or so doing Q&A at the end. I thought that'd be fun. So is that cool with you guys? Okay? Is it okay if we over-deliver? I got one thing, because I saw somebody post about comments. So people are asking, Russell, that is the biggest marker I've ever seen. And so I want to tell you the story behind this before we get started, because I think it's important. So when we first got that whiteboard, the flip chart is like it's really hard. I wanted one forever. And Melanie found one, which is really exciting. We got it. And I started writing with these little markers, and they're like little girl markers. If you've ever been to Tony Robbins' event, he always has this big old marker, and he just slashes a big thing. I always wanted a big marker. So Melanie found the biggest marker possible. So now I feel like Tony Robbins when I'm up there. So if you see me smiling when I have my big old marker, that's why. All right. Okay, you guys ready for session number 2? All right, I'll come back to stage. We'll go. All right, everybody, welcome to module number 2 of the Expert Secrets Masterclass. I'm so excited to have you guys here. Hope you enjoyed module number 1. I hope that it gave you guys just the belief and the hope and the faith that you can do it. The journey has been done. It wasn't just something I did or Tony Robbins did or a couple people. It's been done over and over and over again. And it's really it's an organic process. It comes back to you just documenting and sharing and being okay with that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, the next thing I want to transition to is another one of the least understood parts, I think, of the Expert Secrets book. And it's how do you actually create something that people are going to give you money for? A lot of times I have people, this is always the joke internally inside of our company, somebody will try something, they'll build their first funnel, launch it, and then nothing happens, oh, this is a scam. And it's or you just didn't do it right. I don't know. It could be one of the other things. So I don't want people doing this whole process, launch the first offer, goes out there and then doesn't make money, oh, it's a scam. No, you just created a crappy offer. You understand this whole game, if you look at what we are doing in this business, it's all about creating and making offers, okay? The reason why I'm really good at making offers, the reason why a lot of you guys tell me every time Russell posts something, I just buy. I have to pull my, and first off, thank you for that. I appreciate it. But the reason is because I spent 14 years of my life making and creating and launching different offers. Okay, notice I didn't say product. We'll get into that in a little bit. It's not product. I'm talking about offers. Okay, and that may seem blurry for you guys here right now, but I'll make it more clear here in the near future. But I've done it over and over and over again. A couple of things I found is that some things I create don't sell. And even today, there's still some offers we put out there that completely bomb. And I'm God, you think that everyone would buy, but sometimes the offer's wrong. And so for you guys, it's very good at understanding that and how do I become really, really good at creating offers? Because maybe you have the perfect webinar in the world, but then you launch it and your offer is not good, people aren't going to buy. And you have to understand, okay, how do we create offers on the fly and how do we test different offers and try different things out? Because you never know which ones are going to work. One of my friends, Andrew O'Brien, who does a lot of our PR and stuff like that. In fact, some of you guys may have seen he just got us on Forbes today. He had a chance to come here to Boise and we were talking, and I thought it was really interesting because on his Facebook page he makes a different offer every single week. And I'm man, you're doing so many things. He's oh well, yeah, most of those don't work. Nobody buys any of it. I'm really? He's yeah, but every once in a while people buy. He's I did this one, I got one sale. I did this one, got 2 or 3. I got this one. He's but that one got 120 sales. But it wasn't the first offer or the second or the he had to make a whole bunch of offers before he found out, oh my gosh, that's what my people want. Okay, so for some of you guys, you're coming up, and again, I'm not a baseball guy, but let's just pretend I don't have a good wrestling analogy for this idea. So we're going to do baseball. So you come up to bat, the plate's there, and you've got one shot, and you're this is a grand slam or else nothing, and then you hit, and you miss, and you're this is a scam, right? Or this isn't going to work. You have to understand, you got to get up to bat a bunch of times and try things because you don't know yet what your audience is going to respond to. Just like we talked about in the last session, I don't know what content I'm going to share that people are going to be oh my gosh, that's it. That's the thing that connected with me, right? That's the thing I'm going to share. I'm going to talk about. The thing that's going to blow you up. Same thing with offers. You don't know which offers are going to work. Okay? And the only reason why I do so well now is because I've made so many offers over the last decade that I'm kind of figuring out what things are working, what things aren't working. So my goal for this session is to kind of help clear that up and give you guys some of the processes I do as I'm creating an offer. And even with that, though, understand that I'm not 100% at bat. Okay? Babe Ruth. Back to baseball, I don't know. Babe Ruth was probably, I'm pretty sure he wasn't 100% at bat, right? I'm just kidding. Of course he wasn't. He wasn't 100% either, right? Doesn't matter how good you are, you're never going to be 100%. But if you only make one offer, then it's just going to fall flat, okay? So it's going to become a part of this thing. I got to create offers and put things out there and see what people respond to and see what they don't. Okay, so I'm titling this module, The Irresistible Offer. I'll probably spell this wrong. It's I-S-T-A-B-L-E, offer. Now, I want to caveat this with something. My first mentor in this whole business, his name is Mark Joyner, and he wrote a book called The Irresistible Offer. So when I was 12 years ago, I think I read that book when I was first getting into this. And so just that title has been rung into my head. It's a great book. I recommend reading it. Mark Joyner's a genius, and he's going to be on one of the episodes of Funnel Hacker TV coming out soon, which is so cool. Anyway, but there's a really good book he wrote. I read the book to help you understand like some cool things about creating an offer. And this is kind of my take on it. But like that word irresistible offer, ever since he wrote that book, like it's always in my head. Whenever I'm trying to create something like, what's the offer? What's the irresistible offer? Like it's always in my head. Okay. Now I'm gonna take you guys through 4 different phases of this. And by the way, like as I'm doing this, 2 things. Okay, I'm gonna step off of teaching mode for a minute. Watch what I'm doing as well as what I'm saying. Okay. When I'm creating an offer, I'm always creating a framework around the offer. Okay. Module number 1 that I taught earlier today. It looked like some random doodles and some drawing, right? This was a framework for what I wanted to teach you today. So everything I'm teaching has a framework. So here I mapped out this morning, here was the framework, and then I sketched it out there. The nice thing about a framework is, especially when you're not super confident teaching, if you have a framework, you go off on tangents sometime, you come back, you always come back to the framework. So this was a framework for module number 1. Okay, I have a framework I created for module number 2. As you are creating your training, framework's the key. Brendan Bouchard told me the other day, he said that frameworks become your savior as you're teaching. Because a lot of times we're teaching, and like we get all nervous because we're all over the place, and then if you create a framework, then you teach a piece of it, you come back to it, you go on tangents, but then you always come back to the next piece in the framework. So there's some little extra. All right, so back to the teaching. So for an irresistible offer, the first thing that I think is key, especially in the expert business, this isn't always true in all businesses because some businesses you're not an expert, not creating content. Although I would argue that every business should be doing this. In fact, all the businesses I've consulted with who aren't expert businesses, guess what the first thing I do is? I bring in the expert part because the expert part becomes fuel that launches everything else. The very first episode of MarketingSecrets.com podcast I recorded yesterday, I talked about this. Like venture capitalist companies right now, we've got 4 or 5 that have been trying to give us money inside of ClickFunnels. And what's interesting is that every single one of them, they try to give us money, we tell them no, and they're like so confused. And then the first time we had this lunch conversation, we're sitting at lunch with one of them, and he's asking us our business and our numbers, and it's just kind of, for us it's kind of fun to hear just to like see what they value us at. Like we have a value in our mind what we think we're worth, which is like 10 billion, but I want to see what they actually value us at because it's real, right? And so they're asking us questions, and one of the questions they ask is, well, what's your cost to acquire a customer in ClickFunnels? Which is a great question, right? If you're on Shark Tank, the first question like, well, what's your cost to acquire a customer? And 99% of the entrepreneurs are like, I don't know. So you should know that number. It's really, really important, right? And he asked us, said, well, right now on Facebook, we're spending about $120 to acquire a customer. And he was like, oh, this is awesome. So if we gave you $50 million, that equals X amount of customers. And like, he was like, the light bulbs in his mind are going off. And I was like, oh, but real quick, we shut down those ads. And he's like, what? That's like the best, CPA ever. And I was like, no, like, you understand, like, we're not venture back. Like, this is me. Like, every one of the people, I have to pick $120 out of my wallet and put it out. Like, and we're getting 500 or 600 signups a day. Like, it's expensive. And so what I found is I like to make sure that I get paid before I introduce somebody to my company. He was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, okay, well, let me explain. This is before the Expert Secrets book came out, but with the .com Secrets book. So I said, okay, this is one of my books. This is a book funnel. Somebody comes here, they buy the book, and then we have upsells and downsells in this funnel. What happens is, I think at the time we were spending like $12 to sell a book, and then on the backside we were making like $32 per book. So I said, what happens is that we drive all of our traffic to this. We spend $10 to get a customer. We make $32, $12.30. So we pocket $20 in our pocket, and then that person who just made me $20, then I tell them about ClickFunnels over here. And that way, every single customer actually pays me before we take them to ClickFunnels. And he was like so confused. And I explained it 4 or 5 times. And finally, what he said at the end of it, he said, Russell, if that's true what you just said, he said, it will change business across the world forever. I was like, I know. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're trying to teach everybody. You don't understand. This is the power, right? And so it doesn't matter if you are an expert business or not. Like in the first of the Expert Secrets business I talk about, there's 2 different types of business models. One is I'm an expert. One's like I sell physical products. Okay, well, expert business will blow this thing up for you. Or I sell supplements. I sell network marketing. I sell software, like whatever it is. Like you look at ClickFunnels, we're a software company. How much expert product, how much is the expert, like if you guys are watching what I'm doing, how much of this is fueling this thing, right? It's the key to everything. So it's important, right? So with that, so step number one, the first thing you got to figure out is what is your system? Okay, what is your system for doing your thing? Okay, the system that you follow to get that result. We talked about in module number one. So here's the result you got for yourself. Here's the result you got for someone else. What's the system you take somebody through to get that result? Okay, you first think that you're like, oh, that seems complicated, Russell. Well, the good news is like I'm really not very complicated, a little bit slow on a lot of things. So this is how I did it. First time I ever did this, this is back, 12, 13 years ago now. I was selling my potato gun DVD. I was selling a couple of little things. And one of my friends, Mike Filsame, had an event. And he said, hey, I want you to come speak at this event. And I was like, I've never spoken at an event. That scares me a lot. And he's like, you got to do it. So I was all excited. So again, I buzzed my head, got my glasses on, and I got my shirt and my tie. I look at the pictures now. It's so embarrassing. But anyway, so I get the thing. And I thought, if I'm going to come to the event anyway, I might as well do something cool with it. So the night before the event, I found a video guy and I got a room, and I invited people to come. I think I had like 7 or 8 people that were coming to the event as my guests. And so I said, hey, the night before, I'm going to do a presentation just to kind of get you guys up to speed so that when you show up at the event the next day, you have the foundation in place. And so that was the plan. So I had a room, and I had a video camera in the back. I was going to film it just in case something cool happened. But literally, there were 7 people invited. So that day, everyone goes check in the hotel, and those 7 people are probably at the bar or doing whatever. And they told other people, and everyone started finding out. And so, that night I walk into the room for my little group meeting with 7 people to talk. I walk in the room, there's 50 people jammed in this room. And I was like, am I in the right room? I don't know if I'm in the right room, what's happening? So I kind of walk to the front and I look out, and the camera guy's like, do you want to start now? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I was like, so I told the audience, I was like, hold on you guys, I left my notes up in my room, I'll be back in 1 second. So I ran back in the room, jumped in the elevator, went up to the room, and I'm like shaking, like, what? Oh my gosh, there's 50 people. What am I going to talk about? I have no idea. And I my palms, my hands were sweating. I was just like that fear, and like, do I just stay up here? Like I could call room service, no one would even know. I'm like, oh crap, I'm speaking tomorrow. They're going to wonder why I bailed on them. Like all these things are going through my head. And finally I was like, oh, so I grabbed a yellow pad of paper. I love yellow pads of paper. And I was like, okay. And in my head, I was like, if I was writing a book, what would the table of contents be? And I was like, okay, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. And I listed out like 7 or 8 chapters that would be in the book. And then I was like, that's all the time I got. So I walked down, jumped in the elevator, came down, walked to the front of the rooms, came, all right, everyone, got my notes. We're recording? Okay. Module number, step number 1. And I came up here and I was like, okay, step number 1 is this. And then I wrote the thing down, and I taught for like 15, 20 minutes on step number 1. I'm like, step number 2 is this. Step number 3, and I went through my system, how to do my thing, and I just taught it. And by the time I was done, people were like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And it was awesome. We recorded it. That DVD ended up becoming a huge tool in how I actually grew the marketing side of the business back in the day. And so the first thing I would say is you got to figure out like what's your system, okay? And it doesn't have to be super complicated. I was looking at like if you would write a book on this, and I don't recommend everyone writes a book right out of the gate because it's hard. Like this book took me 10 years before I had the guts to write. This one took me 2 years. Like it's a lot of work. But what you do need to have is like the table of contents. Like if nothing else, the most valuable part of the book for you will be the table of contents. Like what is your system? If someone's going to read a book on your system, like what would it be? Like what's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3? Because in a book, you're going to take someone through a process. So think about this. Your system initially is like, here is the table of contents, okay? So again, you got yourself this result. What typically happens when you get your own result is you're learning from all sorts of things, you're doing all sorts of stuff, and it's kind of like all over the place. And then you try to help someone else, you're like giving them all this crap, and they're like, oh, and they can't get a result from it, right? The way they get the result is for you to take all this stuff and organize, okay, if I was to do this again, what would be the first step, and the second, and the third, and the fourth, and what would be the order of it? Like you taking everything you've learned in this growth phase and putting it in chronological order is 99% of the reason why you are the expert. Okay, most of my ideas aren't mine. I understand that. Like I am living off the shoulders of giants. I try in both my books to give credit where credit is due for every single person I learned things from. Okay? These are not my unique ideas. What I did is I've studied so many people, and I'm like, oh, I learned storytelling from Michael Haig. I learned breaking belief patterns from Jason Fladley. I learned status from Perry Belcher. I learned all these different things, right? And it's like all this stuff happening, and I can just be like spewing it out at people, and they'd be like, no context at all. Or I can say, okay, based on all this stuff, that I've been using, I've been implementing, I've been documenting, like what is the context, what is the format, what is the system that I take people through. I take that, okay, boom, here's the system. Step 1 is what? Well, in this book, step 1 for me was creating a mass movement. They understand here you got to create a mass movement. Why? This is why. Step 2, you identify your charismatic leader, attractive character. Step 3, what is your future-based cause? Step 4, the new opportunity. Step 5, the opportunity switch. Number 6, the big domino, then epiphany bridge, and hero's two journeys, and epiphany bridge script. So I took all this crap I've been in my head that I've been studying for a decade and put it into a chronological order. And that has become my system. Okay? Now some of you guys may be like, well, I don't know how to create that. So a couple things. If you want to create this, like I told you, during your growth phase, you should be reading lots of books and podcasts and videos and learning and growing. But like look at the table of contents of other people's stuff that you're reading. Like what's the process they're taking you through? Do you agree with that process? Is it similar? Is it different? Like what's your take on this whole thing? Somebody in the questions asked, I think it was a good question, was like, where do you draw the line between like creating and copying? Like what's the difference? And I always heard from people that like, if you're, I don't know if this is a good quote or not on live TV, but here we go. Like if you're borrowing from one person, it's copying. If you're taking from a lot of people, then it's research or something like that, right? So it's like, I'm not going to go buy one person's book and then teach that same thing. Like that's not right. But if I buy 30 books and I take that and I do my own life experiences and I try things out, then like your creation is like, here's all the stuff that I learned. Okay, and I'm such a big believer, like give credit where credit's due. There's nowhere in this book where I just said, and then I invented this. Like I always try, like, no, I learned this from so-and-so, and this, like I'm just documenting my journey, right? And I'm sharing it with you in a systematic process, okay? But look at other people's things. I had one of my mentors a long time ago, he told me that like if you go to the bookstore and you buy one of the dummies guides, like dummy guide for computer, dummy guide for juicing, dummy's guide for whatever, like they do a lot of research. They're really good at the research phase, and they'll show you a lot of like, here's the process they went through, and it gives you tons of ideas like, how could your system be, how could it work, okay? Now after you've kind of written the system down, like part of it now is, this is what you're gonna use to get your result. You take somebody through this process, and this is where you start finding out like, that didn't make sense here. Like that was wrong, that didn't quite make sense. In fact, it's interesting, both of these books I wrote, the first draft of the book, and Expert Secrets was the second draft, so I deleted the first draft live on Snapchat. But both the books, I wrote them, had a table of contents, and then I was like, I'm missing something. Like, things are good, but like I didn't feel like this was right, the process. So both of them, I had an inner circle event where I invited my inner circle members into a room like this. I was like, okay, I'm gonna teach this book. And I started teaching them, and as I was teaching them, it was weird, because like some things would flow, and other times they get stuck and question. I'm like, they're all stuck right here. In fact, it's funny because we're going to be talking about tomorrow about the big domino and the big domino statement. It's funny because like when I was teaching that at the workshop, when the book was the first draft of the book was done, I had time slotted out 3 minutes for that because I thought it was such an easy concept. And I explained it, and everyone was like, wait, what are you talking about? So I re-explained it. We spent 3 hours on the big domino, but at the end of that, we came out with like one statement that was like the big domino statement you read in the book that like encompassed everything, where it's like, oh, that's how it works. But if I hadn't been using this to try to get results from someone else, I wouldn't have known the system was broken, right? So you create the system, then you start using it on somebody, start practicing, and you'll find out like, that for them to be able to do this, they have to know this first. I got to change the order, and that wasn't clear, so I had to change this, and like that actually didn't really matter, so I'm going to delete that. This did make sense, and like, oh my gosh, while I was doing this process, I didn't even realize like we did this, like I did this over here, but I forgot about that. I'm gonna add it over here. And so like you start learning, and like this system becomes like a thing as you are doing it to get a result for somebody else. Does that make sense? It's kind of like that, we talk about like the stone. It's like you're chiseling it and you're chiseling it and you're chiseling it until eventually it's like, wow, this is the stone. Like the Expert Secrets book, I'm proud of it. Like it's a polished stone, like it's a process. It works, right? But it took me a while to get to that thing. So for you, I think the first step is taking all this crazy enough stuff you've figured out and then and putting it into like, here's the chronological order. If I was to help somebody, map that out, then here's your system. Then go take that and find your dream person and do it for them. Do it with them. Like go through the process, and then you'll start refining and tweaking until you've got this thing that's like, wow, this is my system. This is what I can take people through. Okay? That's step number 1. All right. Now, you'll notice, by the way, as we created the Expert Secrets Masterclass, guess what we did at the very beginning of it? We sat down and said, okay, well, what's the system I want to take people through? I was like, okay, first thing we need to do, in fact, here's the schedule we announced earlier. First thing I need is I need to help people understand, the process of becoming an expert. Then I need to help them figure out how to create an irresistible offer. Then we gotta figure out how to do the big domino and the stories behind it, knock the domino down. And then you see me do a perfect webinar so they can see the practical application of it. And then I'm gonna dissect that because then they can see what I did and why I did that. And then that was the system, right? That's what these 3 days are about. Okay, so then I mapped out, here's the system. Now it's fun as I'm teaching, I'm feeling too, like what things are flowing, what things aren't. Like I can feel that as I'm going through it. But the other thing, if you notice what we did, again, watch what we're doing, not just what we're saying. What did I do? When I promoted this event, I said, okay, here's module number 1. What's your number 1 question about you as an expert? We got back hundreds of comments. Steven's been flowing through them all, reading them all, finding them all. And then this morning we came in, he briefed me on everything. I completely transformed my presentation based on that. This presentation today, I was working on the whole thing. I had kind of an outline and everything. He's like, hey, here's all the questions people are asking. I added 3 different things because of what he said you guys asked. Okay, so you get here's step 1 of the process. The second step is let me ask them what they want to know. Okay? When I first got in this business, one of my first mentors were 2 guys, Frank Kern and Ed Dale, super cool dudes. And they had a course they created called the Underachiever Formula. Now, I ended up, fast forward 8 years later, I bought that brand from them and I actually launched an ebook based on that because I believe so much in it. Like that's how I learned about how I made a potato gun, things like that. And in the book, in the course, the Underachiever Formula, they talked about there's like a simple 3-step system that makes everything work, right? And so if you look at this, it's really cool. Step number 1 is you have to find a hot market. Hot market. Okay, you gotta find a market of people that actually are excited and they want to give you money. Seems so simple, so many people miss it. Okay, inside of here you have to find a market, and in the book, Expert Secrets book will go deeper. I don't have time to go into all those kind of things, but you have to find a market of people who are passionate and that they care and that they are excited about this result. Otherwise it becomes really, really hard. Joel Urway, I talked about him in the book too. He joined our inner circle and he was like, Russell, this is the deal. I'm an engineer. I help engineers get higher grades, which in turn they can get a bigger paycheck. I don't know, something super boring. I fell asleep halfway through his explanation. I was like, oh man, nobody wants that. He's like, no, they'll make more money because they'll make better grades or whatever. And I was like, dude, no one's gonna buy that. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, dude, engineers, like I love them. I've had a lot of engineer friends. Guess what they are not? Super passionate about engineering. Unfortunately, they're not. Like your market has to be irrationally passionate if they're gonna write you a check for $25,000 or $100,000 or $1,000 or $100. Okay, I'm like, that market's not super passionate. They're passionate about other things in their life, but none of them wake up at night like, okay, I'm gonna become a better engineer. What can I study? What can I get? Like, it's just not happening. Maybe there's 1 or 2 people. And he's like, no, I know this market, they're awesome. So he tried for almost a year, over and over and over again. And man, he worked hard. He wrote the webinar, he had the offer. He kept doing the webinar over and over and over again. He was tweaking the things, he was making it, he was destroying belief patterns, everything we'll talk about tomorrow. He had really good offers, like everything was happening. He kept launching this thing, guess what was happening? Nothing. He's like, Russell, I spent all this money, did this thing, I got 1 sale. I'm like, that's the only dude who's actually passionate about what you're selling. He bought it, 100% close rate. Everyone else doesn't care. And he's like, thought something was wrong with him or the system. He could have walked away like, this is a scam. Luckily, Joel is a smart dude, and he actually partnered with somebody else who had a product. He said, look, I've been doing webinars to a market that hates to buy things, and I got a couple people to buy. What if I did it to a market that was actually excited about stuff? So we partnered with Jason O'Neill in my inner circle. Jason had a drop shipping program. Joel came in, did the webinar pitch for his people, crushed it. I just destroyed it. And you go from closing 100% of the one engineers actually excited about something to like people that are passionate. Like it's insane. Crushed it. Kept doing webinars for him for a long time. Then went out, started his own webinar agency, and like has built this huge company based on like him crushing webinars that he learned by selling to a market that wasn't excited, right? It's so much easier if you just come in like, what is a market that people that are actually excited about giving people money? Okay, so that's number 1. And again, I'm not going to go deep in that because you can get that from the Expert Secrets book, but make sure you pick the right market. If you have the wrong market, you are going to struggle every day because people won't give you money. They don't do that. They won't want to. It's just, you pick the wrong market, everything becomes hard. You pick the right market, everything becomes easier. Okay, so number 1, find a hot market. Number 2, what you do not do is then go spend the next 6 months of your life creating a product and then like giving it to them. Like, here's the product you guys want. And they're like, we didn't want that. No, you really do because I want it, so you should want it. Like, no, we don't want it. Pretty sure we don't. We're not going to give you money. Okay, I can't tell you how many people I've seen go through that process. I had a friend when I first got in this business, and he came to me, he had this book. It was, I'm not going to tell you the name of the book, because maybe he's listening. If you are listening, this is for you. He basically was like, he'd been selling this ebook he'd written for 5 years, and he was like trying to sell, and he kept trying thing after thing after thing, and I told him, I'm like, dude, you should stop selling that thing. He's like, no, I'm not a quitter. I'm like, I know you're not a quitter, but you should quit. You should really stop selling that thing. The market has told you they don't want it. And guess what he told me? He said, Russell, I can't stop selling this book. I have put in so much time and effort into this, I can't walk away from it now. I was like, oh, man, you got the wrong market. You got the wrong people. No matter how hard you try, it's never going to work. Pick the right market, it's good. And then the second thing is not just picking the market, then you have to ask the market, like, what do you actually want? What do you guys want? Okay, when I came here, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, here I'm going to teach you about being an expert. I was like, what do you guys want to know about this? Like, what are you struggling with? And then they tell it to you. That's the coolest thing. The market will tell you. One of my favorite things, again, I'm in a Gary V binge. I'm going to watch this in like 5 years from now. I'll be like, man, I talked about Gary a lot in this training. But Gary talked about it. He's like, the market does not care who you are. It doesn't care if you're white, black, tall, skinny, male, female, does not care. The market just cares about themselves. You got to understand that. It's not about you. It's not about like, oh, I want to create this product because I'm passionate about this thing. Like, that's cool. You should be passionate about the topic, but do not be passionate about the product. Okay? Products come and go. So many of you guys handcuff yourself to this idea that you are so obsessed with and you love, but you're the only one. Okay? The faster you break away from that and go from like, shift from like, I want to create this to like, what does the market want? And then you create that, everything will shift for you. Okay? Find a hot market, you ask them what they want, and then the last step, after you ask them what they want, then guess what you do? You give it to them. Almost too simple. Okay? Hey, you guys are all about weight loss. You want weight loss stuff. Cool. What do you want to know about? They tell you. Cool. You make that. Hey, remember you said you want that thing? Here it is. Oh, sweet. And they give you money. That's it. That is business. Okay? I learned that initially from Frank Kern and Ed Dale way back in the day, and it served me so well. Every time I messed up, it's because I picked the wrong market. I assumed what they wanted to buy instead of asking them, and then I gave them the wrong thing. But if you get a hot market, you ask them what you give them exactly what they want. This game becomes really easy. It's not rocket science. It's not us trying to invent stuff. People are like, Russell, you're so creative. I am not creative. Okay? Guess what I got in my creativity class in college? You can ask Dr. Murley. He is the professor here at Boise State. Say, hey, what did Russell get when he took your creativity class? He'll say, Russell failed my creativity class, but I gave him a C because I wanted him to graduate. Thank you, Dr. Murley. I really do appreciate that. I failed my creativity class, but he gave me a C. You don't have to be creative. I'm not creative at all. These books are not creative. What are they? It's me running ask campaigns, trying things, asking questions, documenting my process, learning all this stuff and putting them in a chronological order. Okay? I'm not creative. I just find a hot market, ask it what it wants, and I give that thing to them. That's it. Russell, you're so smart. How did you think about ClickFunnels? I didn't think about like, how many people out there who are listening right now have tried to build ClickFunnels? I tried to build it for 7 years. I had a team of 6 guys here in Boise trying to make this thing. Okay? It didn't work. It wasn't until I found Todd and Dylan, 2 geniuses who actually could do it, that we had ClickFunnels, right? The market told us, so everyone knew it. It wasn't some magic tricks by Lead Pages, as horrible of a program as it is. I'm live, you guys can't edit that. People want it because like it was the best they had. Like, sweet, well, we want something like that, so it worked, right? Confusionsoft, same thing. Like, they're not a good program, but the market needed something, so they were there and they stepped in and they found the market wanted to be able to sell stuff, so they gave it to them. Even if it's poorly executed, you can be successful. You execute it right, it can blow up, right? That's a whole other conversation. But it's just like this: find a hot market, ask them what we want, and give it to them. You don't have to be creative. In fact, your creativity will kill you most of the time. Okay? I have designers I work with, and they always try to be creative. I'm like, oh, that's really, really pretty. Okay, but you need to delete it. This is what people want. And they always hate me for that. But that's how it works, right? Anyway, all right. Step number 1, the system. Okay, that went on tangent, went a lot longer than I thought. Hopefully something good came from it. All right, now you got the system. Now number 2 is understanding that a lot of people, they create that's like, this is what, I have a coaching program, I have a product, I have like whatever. You have to understand that like, that you are not creating a product, okay? P-R-O-D-U-C-T. If I spell it right. There we go. Product. All right. Here's a product. If you create a product, you are going to struggle. Products are commodities. Products, people are going to be like, oh, well, he got a Facebook course, and he's got a Facebook course. Which one should I get? Oh, he's selling this. He's selling like Amazon. Everyone's like, it's a commodity, right? Like everyone's just, it's like, what's the cheapest? Which one, that's the thing. If you got a product, you're going to struggle. Like, we're not creating a product. This may be a product, but that's not what we're selling. We're not selling a product. Okay, if you're selling a product, you are going to struggle. What we are creating is an offer. Offer here. So an offer wraps around this thing, okay? An offer is bigger than just a product. It's the things you put together to get somebody the ultimate result. This is a hard thing to teach, but as I move on to the next phases in this, watch what I'm mapping out, and you'll see how I'm not just selling the system, right? We're working on our 2 Comma Club coaching program, and initially, that is the offer, is the 2 Comma Club coaching. And then inside the offer are a whole bunch of products that make this thing amazing. Okay, so it encompasses it. So for example, if I was selling, we'll use Amazon because it's such a commodity, right? So let's say I'm selling these things right here, right? On Amazon, right? So if I'm selling this, like I'm dealing with everybody else who's selling this exact same thing, right? It's a commodity. I'm selling a product. So now when there's a commodity, it's like a race to the bottom, right? If I create an offer, so I'm taking, here's the product, but I'm also gonna offer some other stuff. So I'm gonna give you guys, not only am I gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you my director's manual. It's gonna show you how to direct videos in the highest way possible. I'm also gonna give you guys my 3 favorite marker sets that make it so you can write things really, really good. I'm also gonna give you then the stickers so you can customize this for yourself, and I'm gonna give you something else, right? That is an offer. Now something that's like, whoa, this one may be $300, that one's $10, but like, oh, I get all this cool stuff. Like that's the offer. Okay, we got someone in our inner circle who sells pillowcases. And when she first told me, I was like, pillowcases, huh? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, what makes yours, everyone's got pillowcases. That's gonna be a really hard market, right? And she's like, well, we customize the pillowcases and we have this, and like all these things. I was like, oh, because you took this pillowcase from a product where you're competing as a commodity and turned it into an offer. Okay? When I would deal with like supplement companies, they're selling products, how we turn this into an offer, we wrap it in systems, we wrap it in other things, right? So again, this will make more sense as we go on, but understanding that like, I'm not talking about creating a bunch of products. Like Andrew O'Brien mentioned earlier, if you see the things he was promoting on his page over the last year or so, the deliverables were almost the same, but the offer was different, okay? He was selling PR, that was the result he was selling. And the system was the same to get PR, but how did he package this different? Hopefully he doesn't kill me for telling you guys all his stories, but like, he was like, hey, come in here and I'm gonna teach you PR for 6 weeks. Bomb, right? Hey, come here and I will teach your staff PR a little bit better. And I think the offer that crushed it for him was like, hey, come here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a business and for 6 weeks, I'm gonna do PR to it. We're gonna blow this business up. And you guys are going to watch me document the whole process. You're going to see this thing as I go through the system. And at the end of it, one of the people in the course, I'm going to give that entire business to them, and it'll become your business. But you got to be part of the course to see the documentation, and then someone will win the business. Boom. That's an offer. That's a sexy offer. That's something you're like, oh. But it's the same system. He did not change the system. He changed the offer. He made an irresistible offer, right? It's about look at the thing, because a lot of times people, like the offer doesn't work. Like, oh, great, I'm going back to the drawing board. I create the whole thing. No, like this time, step back and ask your audience what they actually want. Sometimes you ask them by making offers to see what they respond to. Sometimes people lie in surveys. The only data I honestly really believe is when people vote with their credit card. That's the only opinion that actually matters is people that pull their credit card out and swipe it, right? Or type in the digits. So sometimes you're asking by putting out offers and seeing what they respond to. Okay? All right, so creating a system, turning it into an offer, not a product, decommoditizing it, giving you the ability to sell this thing for way more. And I always want you guys thinking about how do I sell this for more? Okay, Dan Kennedy told me, he said, there's no strategic advantage of being the second lowest price leader in town. Okay, commodity, you're fighting to the lowest. You're becoming Walmart. That business sucks so bad. Okay, rule number 1 here in the inner circle, as our team knows, you don't sell to broke people. Okay, so if I can't be the lowest price leader, there's no strategic advantage of being the second lowest price leader, but guess what there is? There's a huge strategic advantage of being the most expensive. Okay? You do that by wrapping this thing in an offer. You take this $20 yo-yo and you make this thing worth $200 because you turn it into an offer. You're wrapping stuff. Okay, a yo-yo is a commodity you can buy for 20 cents on Amazon. Okay, you throw in DVD from the top yo-yo experts in the world teaching you tricks, it becomes more valuable. You also take that and how you can make money doing neighborhood parties, showing yo-yo, you get more. How to teach yo-yo for profit, suddenly this thing becomes a really sexy offer. It's just a yo-yo for crying out loud. All right, system, offer, number 3. All right, number 3. This is where we start making this thing more tangible. I've got 2 things. I make sure I have enough room over here. All right, 3 and 4. All right, so number 3 here. So we've got system, we've got offer, we've got stack, and then over here we got the next thing. Okay, so stack. So if you look at the Expert Secrets book, And this was one hard for me because this is when I shifted around the location of where this fit like 5 or 6 times because it's important up front to know where it's going to go. Anyway, so it ended up being secret number 11, the stack slide, and it's on page 145 of the Expert Secrets book, if you have that. If you don't have it, go to expertsecrets.com. Anyway, if you're in the masterclass, you better have the book at this point. All right, so page 145 has this right here. So when I'm creating a sales presentation, so tomorrow we're talking about how to sell, like your moral obligation, how do we get people to give you money, right? So tomorrow we're talking about that. But the first thing, when I create what I'm going to sell, the very first slide I make in my PowerPoint slides is this. It's the stack slide, okay? And so if you've ever been in my webinars, you've seen it before. At the very top it says, what you're going to get. I had a friend make fun of me. He's like, you spelled going to wrong. I'm like, I think gonna is cool. Anyway, so you have a slide that has your offer. And again, tomorrow we'll talk about the strategy behind why we structure this way, how it works, how we do the stack. But this is the stack slide. This is the physical representation of my offer. This is the offer I am making to you, okay? So here's what you're gonna get. So I'm gonna get when you give me money today. This is the offer you are going to get, okay? Now I start breaking it down. Now, there's gonna be different pieces. Now, if I was creating a new offer, the first thing I do is I go into a room with a huge whiteboard, and I'm like, okay, if I want somebody to get that end result, what's everything possible I could give to them that's just gonna blow their mind? And at first, like, we do everything ridiculous. So it's like, all right, fly to Russell's house. Russell will build the whole funnel for them. Blah, blah, blah. Like, we'll hire the top copywriter in the world to fly out, write the copy for them. Like, anyway, it was everything they possibly need to give them the biggest result in the world, right? Little things, small things, we just brain dump everything on a huge whiteboard because we don't want to like hold anything back. We want to be creative, right? So we have this huge thing, like here's everything we could possibly offer them to get them that result that they really, really want. And then we look at that and we're like, okay, some of the stuff's not realistic. Dan Kennedy's not going to fly in and write the copy for him. Okay, so I delete that. So we don't want to copy, but what can we do? Because I know they need copy, so like what's the next best thing? Well, maybe if we did this. What if we gave them our scripts? What if we get, okay, cool. And like, okay, we want to fly to Russell's house, but Russell's wife will freak out, so that's kind of awkward. So what if we said that? What if we have them fly to Boise? Maybe we'll do that instead. Or maybe we'll do a virtual thing. Or maybe, so we start going through everything and we cross out the ones that we can't do. We circle the ones we want to do. The ones that are dumb, we just kind of get rid of. We try to figure out like how do we give somebody the ultimate result, right? Now as I'm doing this, my number one thing I'm thinking about the entire time I'm building out the stack slide is if they have this, will they get the result that I am promising? This is the key. What a lot of marketers do, and I hate it, it's dirty, it's unethical, it's wrong, is they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna give them half the stuff, and if they buy the upsell, then I'll give them the rest. And they're trying to give like partial results. And that's BS. That's the fastest way to get people to hate you. Okay, in everything I do, I give full results. I don't hide things back ever, right? I'm not teaching you this and then I'm gonna hold like module number 6 you get later. Like I give you full results all the time. So what is the offer I need to create to give them the result that they desire? Okay, and I start going through that. So for me, as I'm kind of breaking this down, typically the first thing that I like to do, because I know that there's training involved, is I like to give them this, my system, right? What's the system they're gonna need to go through? What's their training? And you can call it whatever you want. I like calling things master classes. That's kind of the cool new thing to do nowadays. Now that Oprah's got a master class, and Usher's got a master class, so whatever. You call it what you want. I like doing 6 weeks. So 6 weeks master class, whatever you want to call it, right? That takes them through this system. The reason why I like doing 6 weeks, a couple reasons. When I did my first training, I told you guys earlier, it started at 18 weeks and ended up going like 30. It was a year-long program. And like 8 months into it, I had people messaging me asking me for a refund. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, this thing's just never gonna end. I just wanted my money back. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I am completely over-delivering. I've given you training every single week for like 8 months now. And they're like, I know, like it's never gonna end. I want my money back. And I figured like people, they want finality. They want a beginning and an end. So we have to have an end. So that's number one. Number two, so then I started doing like, all right, we'll do a 4-week masterclass. The problem with 4-week masterclass is if you have a 30-day guarantee, by the time it's done, you lose, like people get everything, and then some people, the unethical ones, will be like, oh, I got my stuff, I'm out, and they'll get a refund. So about 6 weeks, it pulls people through the refund period, but it's not too long that it never ends. So I love 6 weeks. We've done 8 weeks and 10 weeks as well, but usually it's somewhere in that range for me. That's my personal favorite. Okay, so number one is like, here is the system that I'm going to be giving them. Okay, all right, now I'm coming back. After I have the system, now what a lot of people do mistakenly is to create this offer, they think they need to keep giving them more training, more info. So they keep like 6-week class, then my 12-week class, then my 38-week class, and it's like, ugh. people see that offer and they're like, that's kind of, no, I don't really want that. Like that seems like more work to them. Okay, this is like going through your system seems like work. It's like they need it, they know it's an essential part to get them from A to Z, but if you just keep stacking on training, it doesn't work as good. So the second thing I try to do is, okay, as I'm giving them this thing, what tools can I give them to make this process easier? That's me next. I'm thinking, okay, so if I'm giving you, so ClickFunnels, for example, I sell the 6-week Funnel Hacks Masterclass, but then I'm giving them the software, because I'm like, you're gonna need ClickFunnels anyway, so I'm gonna give you the software becomes the tool, right? Like, what's the tool you can give people? Sometimes it's software, sometimes it's recipes, sometimes it's whatever it is for your specific business, is what's the tool. I like to think of like tangible things, like the more tangible, the better. Okay, so I pick a tool. Then I start thinking, and tomorrow we're gonna talk about false belief patterns and things like that. And so it'll tie to this, but it's almost like I wish I could go forward and backwards. So tomorrow when we talk about the presentation, you will see that everyone's got false belief patterns that holds them back. And the presentation is crafted to break their false belief patterns in 3 certain areas. Area number 1 is their false belief patterns about this thing the system that you're trying to give them, right? Number 2 is the false belief patterns about themselves, if they could actually execute on this thing if they had it. And number 3 is the false belief patterns about the external environment, like other things that could hold them back from success. Okay, so for me, when I'm creating my next 3 things inside of my offer, I'm thinking about that. I'm looking for tangible things that I can give them that'll help them break their false beliefs about the vehicle, their internal fears, and their external fears. Okay, that'll probably make more sense if you've read. It will definitely if you read the book, but also tomorrow as we go through the presentation, it'll make more sense because the presentation ties to the offer. So it's chicken and the egg kind of thing, right? So here is internal. So I'm gonna say internal tools, or excuse me, vehicle tools, internal tools, and then external tools. All right. So vehicle tools. So for example, let's say I'm trying to teach you again for my funnel hacks webinar, you need software to build funnels, right? So I give the tool here, but then they're like, okay, that's cool, but like I don't know how to build funnels still. So I might give them, well, I'm going to give you my top 22 funnels. Here's a tool you'll just have and you can use them, right? There's a tool that they can use, it's a tangible tool. In my high ticket secrets web class, the tools like the trading on how to do stuff, things like that, and the tangibles are like, well, I don't know how to hire salespeople. I'm like, cool. What we're going to do, because you need that, that's how you're going to make this vehicle work for you. You got to hire salespeople if you want salespeople, right? So I'm going to give you the ads, the training, the scripts, and like all that kind of stuff. In fact, I'm even going to train your sales guys. You just give them our scripts, play this video. This video, my guy will train your guy. Now that they're in business, right? So I'm giving them the tools that'll help them to break their false beliefs about this new opportunity I'm putting them into, okay? Then internal, so it's like, I don't think I can do this. And so, okay, well, do they need personal development stuff? Do they need hand-holding? Do they need a coach? What do they need to personally be able to feel okay doing this thing? And then the third one is external, like, well, in my business, the external is always like, well, even if I had a funnel, that's cool, but I don't know how to drive traffic. So the external is like, well, let me show you how to get traffic, and that's easy. Or copywriting, whatever they think that might hold them back from this result. Okay, I'm trying to give them all the things so that when all said and done, like, they have everything that they need to get the result. That's the key. If they have one thought like, oh, that's cool, but I don't know how to do blah. Like, if you look at my funnel hacks presentation, right? Like, I don't know how to get traffic. Cool, I give you instant traffic hacks. I don't know how to do copy. Cool, don't worry, I give you this. I don't know how to do everything that I can get them thinking about. Like, I don't know how to do. I want to make sure it's included here because they have one thing left over that they think like, I don't know how to do that. They're not going to give you money, right? And so you have to understand like that when you're creating this offer, you're going through all these things. You got the training, the tools, and then things to break down all the false beliefs they have about their ability to execute on this thing. When those things are all gone, now they've got an irresistible offer. Okay, and now the art. So this is I was talking about. There's the art and the science, right? So that's the science. The art I can't do for you. The art is you. You got to look at this and be, okay, what can I create that gives them that? What tool can I create? What tangible thing can I create to destroy this thing and that thing? Okay, and the art sometimes takes a little more thought and makes you think a little bit. Like that's something you got to think about for your people. But it comes back to like to get that. It comes back to this: like, what is the result I'm trying to get for somebody? Like understanding that super clear, and then be like, okay, what can I create to do this? Liz Benny's a great example. When she created her course teaching people how to become social media managers, she has a course on it. But then it's like, what are these internal? But like, well, what do they need? Like, they need contracts. I I have contracts. I'm going to give them all my contracts. Oh, they need proposal documents. Like, I'm going to give them that. And like, that's where the art comes in. Like, what are the things holding back from that result? And you got to think about your specific thing. Like, what's everything they need? If this was your mom and she was about to lose her house, she had 30 days left, and you're like, you got 30 days so you lose your house. Unless you get this thing to work, what would you give your mom to make sure she had success? Like, think about from that level, and you'll start figuring out, like, okay, what's the art? Like, the art of what she actually needs to get this result. And the better you get thinking about that, the more it's going to work. And look at Andrew O'Brien's offer. Once again, like, this stuff, like, these things are all stay the same, but like the result, like, for people to be able to watch him do this thing and then someone's going to win the business at the end, like, oh, that becomes like this level of like, just makes it so sexy and tangible, and like, oh, I got to see this. Like, I got to be part of this thing, right? So think about that right there. And then the last thing here is like, I like having some kind of bonuses. Like, what's the other bonus that you can give them that's just off, like stuff that people wouldn't expect. When you give it to them, they're like, oh, that's cool. That was really cool. Was not expecting that. You create an extra bonus, okay? So again, there's the science. The art's up to you to think about for your business. Okay, now one other thing, I'm running close on time. So another question people always ask a lot about, though, is like, well, how do you assign values to this? Because I want to make sure that this offer I'm going to give to them is worth at least 10x. Like, I want to make sure this is worth 10 times what I'm asking them for. Okay? So if I'm going to ask them $1,000 to buy this, I want to make sure that this is worth at least $10,000. If I'm asking $300, I make sure it's worth at least $3,000. Okay? That's my metric. It's at least 10x thing. So the way I do it is I come back here, I evaluate this. Now sometimes it's tough because people like, let's say one of your tools is like, I'm going to give you my script. Okay? So my script that we use for high-ticket secrets program is 2 pages. So how do I assign a value to 2 pages? It's like, what, 12 cents? So when you're assigning value, it's not assigning value to like what it is, it's assigning value to what it's worth. Someone had that script, like what's that worth to them? $1,000 a day, $5,000, you know, like whatever that is. So you gotta realize that's when you're assigning the value. So I come back here, I say, okay, if I know that I'm gonna be selling this thing eventually for, let's say it's $997, I gotta make sure this is worth 10 times as much. So what's my training course worth? Like if someone was to come here and I was to walk in that process, would that be worth, like if they could lose weight, is that worth $5,000 to them? If I could help them to get their finances right, is that worth like what would that be actually worth to someone? Maybe it's worth $5,000 if I was able to do that for them. So $4,997. Then I'm like, okay, if they have this tool, what's that worth? Maybe that's worth $109.97. And what's it? And that's like I assign prices and I try to get it to the point where it's at least 10x what this is. If it's not worth 10x, then I know this offer sucks. Not sexy enough. Okay, I did a whole podcast a while ago about how to like turn up the sexy on your offer. Like how do you just take that and crank up the sexy? And it's not by jumping in and simply this by dumping in more stuff. Like more stuff doesn't necessarily get people to buy. It's like increasing the sexiness of each of these things. 2 pieces of paper that have my sales script on it is boring. If I explain it a little differently, like these 2 sales scripts have been developed over the last 60 years. In fact, every single call center that's ever sold real estate, stock, mortgages, or anything related to that has used this. In fact, it's been refined by, to date, at least 5,000 different salespeople. It's gone from person to person to person. The end of this process, if you look at the cumulative money made off of these 2 pages, it's well over $5 billion documented, probably more than that when all is said and done. And these scripts, the only way to get them is to actually own a call center. And guess what? I used to own a call center. And I have these scripts. They're here. They're the ones my guys use every single day. These 2 pieces of paper will change your life and unlock everything. Like, so I'm cranking up the sexy here. I can give those to you. I have the right. These are mine. We modified it, make them ours. They're mine. I can give this to you. I'm going to crank up the sexy if you guys want it. Now that script's worth what? Just worth a lot. That's worth 20, 30, 40 grand for 2 pieces of paper now. Now all of a sudden, all the metrics now make sense, right? So how do you turn up the sexy on your offer? Like how do you turn it up, okay? Now we'll get into that a little tomorrow with story selling, things like that. Okay, I got one more piece, and then we're going to break. So the last piece in here, I have my skinny marker. I can't write on skinny marker. I just talked to you guys about this. The last piece here is the OTOs, the next thing. Some of you guys are getting good at creating this, right? And you create something that's so good it gives them a result. And the question came through is like, okay, well, I've created this front-end offer, but how do I create upsells and downsells and then the next thing? Like, how do I sell the next thing? So I want you guys to understand a really cool process. Because my goal is I want to create this thing and I want this to be complete. I want this to leave no holes for people. Okay, if you're leaving holes, you're doing a disservice and it's going to come back and bite you in the butt. So here's the thing that they just bought. I need to create the next thing. So let me explain what I mean by that. And this is true in everything except for e-commerce for some reason. E-commerce, every time someone buys something, I sell more of the same thing on the next page. So there's the caveat. But in information products, This is the way that this works is it's always about the next thing, okay? I learned this initially when we first launched our 108 split test book. People bought the book, and I was like, okay, these guys bought this book on split testing. They must be super excited about split testing. So we had like a $300 course on like split testing and analytics and all. It was awesome, right? And people started buying the book, and they buy this, and guess what happened? Almost nobody bought. And I was like, what? They raised their hand saying they're interested in split testing. Why are they not buying the split testing trading course? And I had a friend, his name Tim Irway. He messaged me, and he said, hey man, I bet your upsell sucks, right? And I was like, well, yes, but how did you know? And he's like, dude, you made the biggest mistake everybody makes. It's like, what's that? I want to know. And he's like, you already scratched their itch. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, when they had the problem, they raised their hand like, oh, I want to learn about split testing. So they bought this thing, and the second they buy the product, like that itch has been scratched. In their mind, like, cool, I got split testing taken care of. So for my next page, I'm like, hey, do you want more split testing? They're like, no, like, I'm good, I took care of it. It's like somebody like, if you sell a product like how to get six-pack abs, and they buy that, even though all of them, they put their money in, they put the transaction, they bought it, the second they bought that, in their mind, that problem has been solved for them. Even though they haven't got the book, they haven't read it, they haven't done anything, the second they buy it, there's something weird in our minds where we say, boom, that problem has now been solved because the purchase I just made and it's done. So next page, I'm like, cool, you bought the how to get six-pack book, now I'm going to give you a training course on how to get six-packs. They're like, no, my itch has been scratched. I got six-pack now. I know I haven't actually got them yet, but I got six-packs, right? I got six-pack abs. So it turns out in the mind of your customer, if you understand this, is that they just bought this thing, their itch has been scratched. That's why it's okay and it needs to be complete. People try to like pull this out so they can be like, oh, well, you're not gonna be successful without this, and they try to screw their customers over, which breaks the long-term like relationship. Instead, we give them everything, make this complete, and then we sell them the next thing. Now that you have this entire thing in place, what's the next thing they need to continue to get that result or make that result even better? What's the next thing? Okay, so my split testing book, you buy the split test book. The next thing then is like, I've got tests down, but I need traffic. How do I get traffic to my pages? Oh, cool, you got split testing figured out. Come over here. The next thing you need is traffic. Let me make you an irresistible offer now on traffic. Okay, and that's how you got to think about this stuff. Every offer needs to be complete, and then you think, when someone buys this, what's the next problem it creates for them? Now I know how to split test, I need more traffic. Now I got six-pack abs, where should I buy food at? Now that I've got whatever, what's the next thing? Okay, so for you, it's thinking about that. Like, now they have this complete system, what's the next logical thing that they need to be more successful? Okay, and that's, you guys, how you create an irresistible offer. So walk you through again. Step number one, you got to build a system. You do that by running ask campaigns, finding a hot market, asking what they want and giving it to them. Then you need to create, not a product, but creating an actual offer and learn how to turn the sexy up on that offer. And from there, you turn this offer into a stack slide that gives you the actual tangible representation of what you will be selling them, which we're going to be doing this tomorrow. So we need to make sure we have this done. And then number three, if you're going to have upsells or things like that, understanding that this is complete, it's finished, and now you're looking at what's the next thing they need. When they have this, what's the new problem it creates, or what's the next logical thing that they need in the progression of them in that thing you're trying to help them with. So that is it, you guys. That is how you create an irresistible offer. I hope you love that. We'll take a break for about 10 minutes. When we come back, I'm going to do some Q&A. So if you have any questions, please post them in the comments down below. We got a whole bunch of them. I know Steven's been putting them together. So in 10 minutes, we'll be back. We'll do a few minutes of Q&A, and that'll be a wrap for today. So I'll see you guys here in about 10 minutes.
ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels like funnels.
ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels? Like, again, so cliche, but it's a f***ing game changer.
Funnel Hacking Live is the one event that you need to be at. Having the skill set of knowing how to build funnels is the single most valued skill set.
I think there's a difference between watching it done and actually doing it yourself. I would say that that's the main difference.
Funnel Hackathon is super 100% hands-on. It's literally, here's what we need to do. Now we're all gonna do it together. Like, there's none of that when I fly home tomorrow, because it's done.
This event is most suited for people who want to accelerate their story to the market.
You're really developing something. You're leaving with something very tangible.
This will give you the right mentality to be able to succeed no matter what industry.
You know, when you have Russell around you all the time, all of a sudden, things don't seem unrealistic. It's just like, I can do this.
You enter his world where he is, and you can just see him in action. And the great thing, that action is within your business.
It's nonstop. I mean, we were at it from 9 a.m. to midnight, just learning, implementing, sharing.
It's so cool that I'm going to leave with a product that's going to make me a lot of money.
And here it's like a totally safe, vulnerable space where you can just be like, I suck at this stuff. What am I supposed to do here? And then you have guys who have done exactly what you want to do or have done 10 times anything you've ever thought of right there next to you saying, hey, have you thought of this? Do you think that would work for you? And you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, I should start doing that.
I learned more in that compressed period of time than I had in almost the 2 years of being inside of ClickFunnels.
I would pay any amount of money if I could come back and do that every month or two.
So if you're looking for an opportunity to work with amazing people and work under the guidance of somebody who really knows what they're doing and be able to get things done, it's unbeatable.
If you hate money, then this event is not for you because it's just gonna get you more money and you're gonna make an impact in the world doing what you love most.
Most people are looking for a job that has meaning. And in a way, it's like, that's what I'd been looking for and seeking and ultimately found. And it was a role where I was working for this amazing entrepreneur. I got married, I was starting a family, and I had two, wonderful daughters with my wife. But in that work, the goal that I had sought for myself and succeeded in, to do good work and have meaning, was actually pulling me away from the thing that mattered the most, and that was my family. So I was traveling, I was not mentally there, I was always, at work in a sense. And so I really felt it one moment when December of 2012, it was just enough pause to have a little bit of reflection outside of these 70, 100-hour weeks. And I was with my family, my wife and my two girls, and I basically realized in my future thinking, which is what I do, I saw that they'd be gone. I basically went back after the Christmas break and I resigned from this position that I felt was success because I knew I had to do it for my family. I was lost basically, because my identity and my pursuit had been so clear. And I didn't know where to start. Like, how do I continue again? What do I do? I did all these certifications and conferences. And then what was interesting is that in your journey, it's almost like reevaluating your environment, right? Like, who's out there? Who can you trust? And then this guy named Russell, right? It was a webinar. I'm like, why am I watching this? But I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And not only that, I couldn't keep my wallet in my pocket. The way Russell spoke in this webinar, it connected me. As I got deeper, I realized, man, this is really good stuff. And he is very sincere in his values and his mission, and that inspired me. So then I basically went to the events, the live events, got certification, and then ultimately, again, I did something I thought I'd never do, and that was Inner Circle. 2 years without income is not easy. No income. And again, it was intentional because I felt I needed that space. I knew if I got another job, I would be lost again. The 2 years with my wife supporting me, no income, I told her, remember that guy? There's this program happening and it's like, it's $25K. And again, like, she worries about $150. And when I said that, I'm thinking about the support, and I think that's so awesome. And I think that's where when she said yes, and I was still not sure, right? It's like it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I mean, we basically got creative, to basically support this journey, and for her to say yes when she worries about a cup of coffee, it was huge. So first time in anything like a mastermind for me, I prepared like a corporate presentation. And so when I stood there with my note cards, it's funny because I totally blanked, because there was a struggle between me being who I was and doing the corporate presentation and me being who I could be to just basically let it go. And that's when I started to talk. And I actually feel like half of it was like just gibberish, like I was tripping over myself because I was letting feelings come out as well as well-processed thoughts at the same time.
I spent most of my life in corporate and startups, like Silicon Valley startups.
Garrett, he read me, and he just basically challenged me to just change who I thought I was at the moment. So I had a jacket on. He said, take your jacket off, and and then I had a folder in my hand because I was doing that corporate thing and I was thinking about bringing it. And I put the folder on the ground and he's like, do 10 push-ups.
Do some push-ups real quick. Seriously, get down. Do like 10 push-ups real quick. You all
At the last push-up, when I got up, it wasn't even me. It was like my future me.
But I knew I had to leave the office forever.
Basically, I think what it was all the preparation came out after I stood up after that 10th push-up.
We're having an event at Alcatraz. I'm going to teach you how to escape the office forever. I'll give you a blueprint. And my goal is to get you 6 figures at some point in your journey so you never have to go back.
And it was pretty magical. It really was. And what it really showed me was the potential, right? It just kind of gets me a little bit because it was the potential of what's possible. What I know more than ever from yesterday is like it's a no-brainer now. But you wouldn't feel that until you got here, right? It's a no-brainer because it was what I needed to basically get to another level. The ability to come here, make that investment, and see then, right off the bat, within hours, what happens, and I'm still in it for a long time, I guess. So what a deal this is, because what comes after that hug is, did you do it? And I'm already thinking that, right? Like, they gave us great ideas about the experience in a retreat. And I know I can just hear it and I love it. But it's like, hey, did you get it done, right? So it's that support, but also the tough love, to say, now you got to do it, man, And in a way, like, we've done our job. We're here to support you. What are you going to do? It wouldn't have happened without any doubt, without that webinar, without, the journey, without Russell, Inner Circle, the people that he's brought into the room. So it was quite an event.
All right, everybody. We back live? We are. Well, welcome back. Did you guys have fun so far? That was a really fun day for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Good session.
So this is Stephen Larson, for those who don't know Stephen yet. He is the guy behind me building funnels all day with me. It's so much fun. And he was also back here while you guys were dropping comments, trying to congregate them all. And there's like thousands and thousands.
Thousands of comments. So if it's not your specific question, sorry.
Yeah. It's quite crazy between Facebook and then also if you go to ExpertSecretsMasterclass.com, which, by the way, those who are on Facebook, if you want to go get the schedule for tomorrow, it's all there. Between there, anyway, there's like 2,500 people between YouTube. Anyway, so thank you guys for coming and showing. And tomorrow's going to be even more fun, well, if that's possible. So tomorrow, again, the game plan is we'll be starting at the same time, 9 Mountain, which is 11 Eastern or 8 Pacific, so same time, same place. And the morning session, I'm going to be talking about...
Big Domino.
Oh, yeah. So this will be a longer session, probably
one.
be 2 hours. Because we got to cover a bunch of things. One is like, for somebody to give you money, there's like one thing they have to believe. So how do we knock down, like we call it the one big domino. Like, how do we knock down that domino? how you do it in a way we don't feel like a used car salesman like trying to jam it down someone's throat. And it comes to do with understanding false belief patterns, storytelling, rebuilding belief patterns through story. And it's like, it's one of my favorites. So it'll be a little longer session in the morning. And then after the break, I'm actually going to do, if you read the book, we talk about the perfect webinar, and I go slide by slide by slide in it, but then at the end I talk about a perfect webinar hack, so I'm actually going to do it live.
So exciting. It's going to be awesome. You'll see it.
If you guys want to see it in action, you can come and watch that. And then the next morning, we're going to kind of break things down, and you'll see what I did and why I did it. And anyway, it'll be fun. And then we have a bonus session at the end showing how we got 3 million people to watch our Facebook Lives during the launch, which is kind of cool. So, crazy. All right, so with that said, so Steven's been going through, actually, you care if I tell him about your project you've been working on?
Sure, yeah.
So he had a secret project we had him go on. If you ever read, Jay Brennan has a book called the Mr. X book, which basically one of his students went through everything of his entire life work, like 30 years of stuff. And Jay's brilliant, but he's kind of like ADD all over the place, kind of like other people we know. And so this student took all Jay's stuff and they broke it down and put it in chronological order and made a book. It's like, here's Jay's teachings in the system, right? And then started selling a book for $500. Jay found out about it, sued him, ended up getting the book rights back. And it's like the best Jay Brown book in the world. It's still like $500 a copy. Anyway, Steven had the opportunity to do that over the last 6 months. He went through 10 years of my videos.
Am I getting sued?
Hopefully not. We'll see. And we took everything and broke it down to like chronological order into this really cool thing that we'll talk about tomorrow. But it's really, anyway, it's pretty cool. So he's been listening to me in his ear for the last 6 months. So I'm sorry about that. He can probably answer these questions for us if we wanted to. But all right, so should we jump in?
Yeah, the biggest question people have been asking is, how do you actually pull off the Ask campaign, and where are you asking those questions? How do you actually get and harvest all that data?
Okay, cool. So there's a couple ways. When we first did Ask campaigns back in the day, it was like we would set up a page. I don't even remember how we did it. It must have been front page. It was pre-ClickFunnels. And it was just...
That existed?
Yeah. Life BC, before
BCF.
ClickFunnels. Anyway, and so we had a page and we would say like, what's your number one question about blank? And there was a little form they'd fill in and submit. And then back then, all we had was Google PPC, so we'd run PPC ads to it. So that's how it started. What is transition? What we do nowadays is kind of two things. Number one, if you notice, if you go to Expert Secrets Masterclass, you can see we did it right here. He set up, it's a type form, right? Mm-hmm. And you just click on the button and you fill out a form that just says, okay, here's the training, here's the 6 different modules. Come and let us know your number one question about each of those modules. And that's how we did it. The other thing we did at the FAT event, you guys saw the video during the break, we have an event called the Funnel Hackathon. We bring people here to Boise. And what I did, and I had everyone else do, was actually do a Facebook Live that says, hey, I have a question. What's your number one question about blah? Put it down in the comments down below. And then people would like give us all sorts. In fact, if you go back to my Facebook feed and look, when was the first FAT event? It was a while ago.
It was
February. In February, a video I did in February, and I asked like, what's your number one question about how to get traffic into your funnels? That was an Ask campaign I ran live in front of a group like this. And you can actually see there's like 500 or 600 comments of people tell me what the number one question about traffic was. Now, one big thing I noticed, I do all the time, like I ran an Ask campaign and it failed. And then there's different kinds. Ryan Levesque wrote a book called The Ask that's really good, but it's like deep surveys, and my brain is really simple. We actually hired someone to run like a Ryan style one. It was amazing what we got back.
It was amazing.
But for most of us like me who I don't have time or energy or effort, like mine are simple. They're always like, what's your number one question about blah? But the difference, like a lot of people try it and they fail because they say like, what's your number one question about losing weight?
It's like,
nobody will, like everything, not just this, you always have to learn how to like turn up the sexy, right? So if you get very specific, like what's your number one question about how to lose 10 pounds this week through ketosis? Then people are like, oh, and the last question is like specificity, specifics, is that the right word?
Sure.
Is one best way to crank up sexiness. So it's like, yeah, I saw them like, what's your number one question about parenting? No one's gonna respond to that. They're gonna it's gonna brush through them. But it's like, what's your number one fear about your kids between the ages of 3 and 5, and what you can do to help them not be horrible criminals someday. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah. There's like, you don't have to go as deep as the Ask campaign, but then like there's this top level that's not good enough either. It's kind of like the prolific index. You know, it's a little bit of a spot you got to stay in.
Yeah, the deeper you go on that, the better. So
yeah,
if no one's answering your questions, it means you asked a crappy question. People are like, oh, there's no such thing as bad questions. No, there really are. And you know that because nobody's responding to them. So anyway.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in there for a second. Actually, the Ask campaign is how I got my personal start. This method really works. You know, this is how I got started as well. I went and I found a guy. I was like, what am I good at? I know how to build funnels. That's it. And I went and I found he had a current customer base, and I ran an Ask campaign just through Google Forms because I didn't know anything else. And it was free. And I went through Ryan Levesque's thing, and I just put 6 questions on there. And what I did was I went and I wrote, just this really simple email, and we dropped it out to his following. We got 150 people to respond over like a month, and we were pushing on Facebook all over the place. Like, an ask campaign that fails, I don't think is really an ask campaign. Like, you got to push it hard. And what I did afterwards is, after 150 questions was over, is it took me 3 times to read the actual answers because it was affecting me so much. I was asking them, like, what's your biggest challenge with your health and things like that. People writing in like, I'm sitting here with my dying spouse. I'm sitting here, I'm in the hospital, and this is the health challenges we're having. It was a health company I was doing it for. And it took me 3 rounds to go for it, and I gained such affinity for the customer that I had to stop 3 times, but I knew exactly what I had to create at the end. And so I went and created it, made a tripwire funnel, and made a bunch of money at the end of it, and they work. So you just got to dig hard. If it's not working, that means you just got to keep digging.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool.
Part of this was just asked before, but people are wondering how you pull this off in like an e-commerce setting. This seems like it's an info product thing, you know what I mean? And so people asking, corporate world, e-commerce, how do you make this kind of thing happen?
Cool. Give me an example of something that e-commerce, I can talk like high level and like, or like specifics. Give me an example of any product, and I'll try to do it with it.
Let's say someone's selling a supplement.
Okay, so supplements. That's easy. All right, so let's just say you're selling a supplement that helps with, let's say you're selling prebiotics, right? Or probiotics. Which one is it? I don't even know.
I don't know.
The biotics that you put in your belly that do stuff, right? So why do people do prebiotics? Well, I'd probably ask first, like, hey, what's your number one question about probiotics? I can't even say it right. And I get people and they're like, oh, well, like, how do I use it? How do I not use it? Like, I know that the first time I ever bought something like that, I was like, so is this like a cleanse or a sup? Like, I didn't really know what and how to use it. I knew like pop pills, like what else? Like, what's the thing, right? You always hear when they always talk about like, this supplement or like works when you do it with part of a healthy nutrition, blah, 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 you get from your doctor or something stupid like that, right? Yeah. Like that's what we're talking about. So if I sell a pill, let's say I sell a prebiotic, probiotic, which one is it?
Probiotic? I think it's probiotic.
Is prebiotic a thing? All right, there's both, okay.
We're not in that industry.
Whichever one you're selling. Anyway, if you go to Amazon, you Google that, you Amazon that, you say that?
Sure.
You search that on Amazon, you'll see like 800 people selling the exact same crap. And guess how they do it? They go to the exact same laboratory. This is how the private label supplement company works. You call the private label company, you're like, hey, order 150 bottles, slap my label on, they ship it to Amazon. It's the same thing. Different labels, same product, everyone competing for the same thing. So how do you stand out? You stand out by not just selling this little thing. You stand out by saying, look, you get the product, but you're also gonna get my detox kit, which is gonna be this, you're gonna get my 7-day reset, you're gonna get that. Like, you bundle it with stuff, or all of a sudden it's like, dang, I can buy that and just get crap, or I get this, I get 16 training, I get training manuals, videos, I get, a tape measure that measure my stomach throughout, or just stuff like that makes it more valuable. I mean, even if you look at Amazon, just a picture of it, it's like, here's a picture of a supplement bottle versus a picture with that, and like e-covers and video, just like the look of it, like looks different.
Okay, wrap it.
If you look at Ryan Dice and Perry Belcher, one of their most successful offers they ever created was the free credit card knife. But if you look at that page, it wasn't just a free credit card knife. Like, you look at the offers, like the free credit card knife, and then there was a monitor, and there's a picture of like the survival training course, like 30 days to kill people with your new magic wallet knife or whatever, right?
PDF and all this stuff.
There's PDF and a video,
yeah.
and it's like, oh, that's an offer. Like, that looks really, really cool. Like, yeah, the knife is like a cool little tchotchke, but I want the whole system, right? So it's looking at that. I would look at, let's pick a business professional, let's say financial planner, right? Financial planners, you kind of sell a commodity. You're kind of selling the same thing every other financial planner is, right? So why would I give you money versus someone else? Why do people fly across the country to learn to go to different financial planners versus you, right? They'll fly from DC to Florida or from DC to California because there's somebody there different, but they're still selling the exact same products at the end of the day, right? What's the difference? One dude's positioned himself as an expert. He's written a book. He's got a training course. He's got, when you come, he's going to figure out the right trading type for your personality. Like, there's all these things that you do to change this from like, we sell insurance to, even financial planning. They took the product of buying insurance and they wrapped it in a sexy offer called financial planning, which is a little bit sexier. But it's like, you got to crank that sexy up, and like, what else do you have to wrap that and make it so it's like, go. If I'm going to do this, I got to do it through this guy. There's nobody else.
Absolutely. So the next one, this one kind of came in heavily as well, was I see I'm in a niche, and you kind of just went into that, so I guess we'll go into it, but I'm in a niche that's definitely becoming a red ocean, and how specifically should I create a blue ocean out of that? What's the next?
How do you do that? So in the book, in the Expert Secrets book, we talk about that, right? We talk about the process. So in the beginning, there were like 3 core markets. It was health, wealth, and relationships. And there's probably others. Someone's like, well, what about survival? Where does that fit? I'm like, I don't know. There's always a, what do they call that? There's always the outlier, right? But for the most part, they fit in one of these markets, right? Initially, it was like, there's only one dude in health, one dude in wealth, and one dude in, and I shouldn't say dude or dudette, right? One person in each of these, and they were there, and it was a blue ocean. They were only people there making a ton of money, and then people saw that, and they jumped in these markets, and the markets became bloody. And so then it shifted from like health, wealth, and relationships to like, what's the sub-market of each? So inside of health, there's like dieting, strength training, nutrition, like people broke down into the sub-markets, and they specialized, which made them a blue ocean once again. But then, inside of those specialized sub-markets, then people start jumping in, and now the market we're in today, it's like you gotta go 2 levels deep. So you gotta go 3 core markets, sub-market to the niche, right? And so the niche, like, the biggest problem people have is they try to like pick a niche. Like, I'm gonna jump at that one. Like, we can't jump in because it's a red ocean. Like, you gotta create something new. Like, well, what do I create? Like, how, like, everyone's doing this, right? And a lot of times it's like combining things. Like, I look at Anthony, who's in biohacking. Before Anthony was a biohacking guy, he was in weight loss. He was like every other weight loss coach. Like, his stuff was like everybody else's, and that's why he struggled. He was always in this red ocean competing with all these people. And in that, you know, when there's a lot of people, it's hard. And so for him, it was like, I had this whole conversation with him, and we have it on one of our old Inner Circle calls, so I could probably find it. But I asked him, I was like, okay, so like, who are your current customers? He's like, well, right now, most of my customers are like older menopausal women. I was like, cool. So when you wake up in the morning, are you like jacked to work with like older menopausal women? He's like, not really. I'm like, well, who do you want to work with? He's like, honestly, people like you, because he'd helped me as well, helped me with my supplements, a bunch of stuff. And I was like, okay, well, everything you're putting out there right now is attracting an older menopausal woman. Like that's the bait. Like, whatever you put out there is what you're going to get back. And so, like, you're fishing in this red pond, you're throwing out the same bait everybody else is, and so you're pulling out the same kind of people. If you want someone different, like, the first step is identifying who is it you want to serve. He's like, I want to serve entrepreneurial men. Like, that's what I want to serve. He's like, okay, cool. Now, within that, what do you got to create to get those people? And so for him, it was this biohacking. That was the concept that got me excited. I got other people, and like you've seen as his tribe of men have grown. Garrett White's another good example. Like, Garrett White, his headline, on one of the lines, I think he's changed it for compliance for Facebook, but the headline, like, if you look at this, it was like, you look at like, he first off, there's the world, right? And he's attracting men, so like, boom, cut the world in half to men. But the headline said, attention, married businessmen who, was it? I can't remember, I screwed it up.
I can't remember the headline.
It was like, attention married businessmen, if you want to have more sex, energy, and whatever without hookers, drugs, or whatever, then what, and it was just like, like, these are who I'm speaking to. So sometimes the blue ocean isn't necessarily like, I'm the only person in the world teaching personal development. It's like, no, you're teaching personal development to who? Who are your people? Who are, like, let me step out and say, look, they're teaching to the masses. I'm teaching it to this specific person, right? Dave Asprey was teaching biohacking. Other people teach this, but Anthony built his ocean from the people as well, right? And so part of it is like the uniqueness of your content, but it's not always that. A lot of it, it's the uniqueness of who it is you're actually serving. Where are you finding a market that's underserved? Okay, prior to Garrett, in Garrett White, if you don't know Garrett, warriorweek.com, you can kind of see Garrett's stuff. But prior to him, there were a lot of people teaching like women empowerment. There were people teaching like all these things, but there was no one teaching like men these principles, right? These principles can be taught in a lot of other places, but as soon as it was like, no, I teach this for men who, not just men, but married men who are businessmen, like entrepreneurs who are married. That's who I'm speaking to. And also like that was a blue ocean. Okay, so a lot of times it's just identifying like where's the market that we're at, and like who are the people you're going to serve within there. Even if your tools, your techniques, your systems not be that super different, sometimes it's just who am I actually serving. Like internet marketing, right? Like part of what we talked about here, if I flip this back over earlier, like some of you guys, this is going to be your thing, right? Like you love marketing. Switch chairs now.
Yeah.
But think about this, like I'll just use Chad Woolner, Dr. Woolner as my example, right? So Chad was a chiropractor who did this thing for himself, right? Got results for himself. Then like started teaching other chiropractors, and now he's becoming like a chiropractic marketing expert. Guess what he's teaching? He's teaching the same kind of stuff that I taught him, right? He's teaching funnels. But he's the funnel dude for chiropractors. So now he's in this blue ocean. Like he's the only person in the chiropractic market who's teaching funnels, right? So it's like you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be hugely prolific all the time. It can be just different, like taking this thing and serving a completely different audience.
Yeah, completely. Like, and I think that one of the things you can do too is just switch up the delivery of the same kind. Think of like Blockbuster. Well, Redbox took them out. Same movies, same thing, same everything else. They literally changed up the delivery of the same content. And I think that temporarily can put you in a blue ocean for a while. Yeah.
So hope that helps. Again, there's other ways as well. And the book goes over other ways, but just thinking through that, like comes back to what we talked before, like who is your dream client? Who do you want to serve? Where are they at? Like, how do you get those people? And like, it all comes back to that foundation.
Awesome. Well, this one's a bit more of a, goes back to session 1 a little bit. It says, how do you mentally overcome a failure in your area of expertise, let's say it's even public, and still have the confidence that you are the expert and can justify charging?
All right.
That can be challenging.
How many of you guys have failed before? A lot. So one thing, I had the blessing when I was 19 years old to go on a 2-year mission for my church and knock on a lot of doors. And what's interesting through that process is you knock on doors, especially in New Jersey where I was at. I love all my people from Jersey, but most of you guys don't like us knocking on your door at 10 in the morning. And we would knock on doors and people would get angry and they'd slam the door and they'd yell and they'd curse. I heard words I'd never heard before. And at first I took it all personal. I was like, oh, and it was like this huge thing where I was attached to this thing. But after like 2 years of getting beat down on, eventually I realized like, they don't care about me. I'm not part of this. Like they didn't like the message or whatever. And so I was able to disassociate myself with it. I think a lot of times what happens is that we get so excited about our thing that we create, our system, whatever, and we're so tied to that like when somebody doesn't buy it or they reject it or we try and it fails or whatever that thing is, like because it's become our identity that they're rejecting us. And I've struggled with that. I know that most people struggle with that. And the biggest thing is, and it comes back to what we talked about here, is like when you understand like this has nothing to do with you, it has to do with like what does the market actually want, then you're not associating, like you're like, it doesn't matter, they're not rejecting me, they're rejecting this offer. Like they don't want the offer. So they gotta change the offer, change something or whatever. Like it's all about like you shifting that in yourself and disassociating because the market's not rejecting you, they're rejecting the offer. So the offer's wrong, cool, let's change that, try this one. Dang, didn't work. ClickFunnels, we launched ClickFunnels. We launched it, 6 funnels, 6 different offers before the one that actually took off. But it was the same product, right? It's just shifting and shifting. The other thing is that like the failures you guys have are like right in front of your face. And so because of that, like they're so real and colorful and intangible because it's like you can still taste them. But nobody else even knows you failed. Yeah.
Most people have no idea.
That's one of the cool things about failing online is that like you fail and like nobody knows. In fact, one of my best-selling courses came from a failure. I never told the story. So we launched this thing and then like nobody bought it. So then I posted sold out. So I'm like, it's sold out, so I guess can't buy it because nobody bought it. And so then I was like, crap, what do we do? And then I came back later. I was like, okay, well that one's sold out. We're doing it now again at a huge discount. We came back later with like round 2 at a huge discount. And because I positioned it as a sellout thing, like that was what cranked the sexy up just enough for people to get excited. And then a whole bunch of people bought it. So anyway, it's just, most people don't know. They assume whatever. And the other thing is that people do hate you, like it doesn't really matter.
And honestly, if people see you fail, not that you should go try to, but you become more human, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
A good example of that at Funnel Hacking Live, I did a presentation called Your One Funnel Way.
Yeah.
For those who were there, how many of you guys were there? If you were there, comment down below. Anyway, and I for like, was it 60 or 90 minutes, I just went through all my failures over the last 12 years, which was really hard. And what was crazy is at the end, like, that was when I think connected to my audience the most of everything I've ever shared. So be okay sharing those things because everyone's failing all the time. And you failing, as much as you think it's going to push people away, it's actually what will draw people to you.
So this one kind of ties slightly into, someone wants to know, okay, I've got all these things I love and do, but like I'm having a hard time finding my superpower, finding where I should actually drill down in personally.
Yeah.
And if it's all right, there's a piece of advice my dad gave me when I was growing up, because I was going through the same thing. Like, I don't know what I'm good at. I don't know there's nothing in particular that's really, attractive to me or whatever it is. And he said to me, okay, what is it that you think about when you have nothing to think about? when you're in those times where there's nothing, like you're not supposed to be thinking about schoolwork, or you're not at work, you're not whatever it is, like those periods where you have nothing to think about, where does your mind go to? And for me, it was business, just business in general. And it's like, okay, well, it's pretty broad. Well, I'll just try business, whatever that is. So I took a step forward, realized I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. You know what? The internet's kind of cool. It took a step forward. Okay, I don't like that, I don't like that. And it was a journey for me, kind of like Russell was talking about. This transformation happens over a period of time. And because of that, I found it. It wasn't like it popped up in my brain. So you just got to get moving.
Yeah. Motion is like so important in it. And like the way you just illustrate is really cool. It's like, and not to get religious because it's not supposed to be, but it's the same thing. It's faith, right? It's like, I don't know where I'm going, but I know it's that way. And like, it's like foggy and there's a mist and you're like, I don't know, but I can't see where I'm going, but I'm going to take that step. And so you just step there, like all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's lighted up to that point. And you're like, oh, and you take the next step. And as you keep going, like, and eventually you'll kind of find, it'll find you. Like it's part of this whole journey that you got to go on. And what's cool is that as you're documenting that journey, because I think in our heads all the times we think like the journey's gonna go like this, but as you're documenting it, it's like, whoa, and then like it zigzags. But what's cool is like the people who are gonna be following you, like that's the same thing they're going on. And so it's not something like, sometimes it takes longer to find it, but it's just like, it's the action of moving that causes that. I had, probably 10 years ago when I had my first 2 or 3 employees, and it was funny because I was doing all sorts of stuff and trying this and trying that. I was failing so many times. But I was just doing stuff. And the 2 guys were sitting there next to me, and one day at lunch, they said, you know what the difference between you and us? They're like, they're like, we're actually smarter than you. We're actually better than you. Like all these things, like the only difference is like you're moving forward. And so because like all these opportunities start coming to you just because you're moving forward. And he's like, we're not moving forward, just sitting here. And like, because you're moving forward, things open. And like, there's some weird thing about like speed and momentum and movement that you guys will find like, as you're moving forward, things will come. But if you stop and you sit back and don't do anything, nothing will come. That's what I'm talking about, this growth phase. When you come out here, you're like, all right, that's it. I know the result. I'm going to growth phase. Boom, and you start studying and moving and sharing and like and documenting. Like it's insane what'll start opening to you and start coming, and you're just like, holy crap, I don't know how this got here. I wasn't even expecting it, but there it is. And that's the thing about like ClickFunnels. People like some people met me the first time through ClickFunnels. Like, oh, cool, you had this idea for ClickFunnels, you built it. I'm like, yeah, but that came on the back of 11 years of me running, trying to find what I want to do when I grow up. Like 11 years. And I tried this, and some things worked, some things didn't, some things, like I built a company to 100 people and then we almost bankrupted it twice. And then this and that, and like failure, like, but like I wouldn't have been ready for ClickFunnels unless I'd gone through all that crap first. Like that's how I met my partners, that's how I met all the people, and like the team that we've assembled, this Voltron Super Power Ranger team, whatever, of people that has become ClickFunnels all came from 10 years of running on this journey, meeting people, bumping into them, opening opportunities, me trying stuff, and then all of a sudden then the market was like, oh, ClickFunnels. And for me, we jumped into it. But sometimes you don't, it's not gonna happen today, like the end thing, but unless you start moving forward, you'll never find the thing. Like you gotta start creating and doing and selling. And what's funny is, if I would have defined myself on what I first created and thought was gonna be my end all be all 10 years ago, it was like night and day. And so it's like, you don't know, but moving forward, you'll get there. So it's the movement.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I recently sat down and wrote down all of my failures in the last 7 years, and it was way bigger than the list than I thought it was.
Like, oh.
But then I looked back and I was like, I wouldn't be doing this for Russell and this without that experience that took 6 months for me to learn that lesson, or this one. And it's just, the momentum I think is huge. Yeah.
So awesome.
This one's a bit of a ball of yarn, okay? It's I'm stuck at 40K a year. Everything I throw at my business isn't getting me past the 40,000 a year. My customers, I can't tell if they don't have money to spend, or if it's a bad marketing on my part. I'm not really in one of those 3 niches either.
So a couple, without seeing exactly what it is, it comes down to usually a couple things. Number one is like, how big is the pool you're fishing from, right? So if you're fishing from a pool of like 12 people, like you can go deep, but there's no way you can make more than that. Like that's it, right? So it's like finding the right market. Comes back to the hot market, right? Joel Irway, I mentioned earlier, he was in the engineering market and he was stuck. He loved engineers, but he was stuck because like that market wasn't deep. So 40,000 could be that you're in a crappy market. If so, you can change. I remember New Year's Day when I had my 100 people business and it was all collapsing around me. Tony Robbins put out a video and I watched this video and he said, hey everybody, it was him and Sage in Fiji on the beach. He said, hey guys, it's New Year's, it's time to rebirth and re-excitement. He's like, the reality is we can all change anytime we want in our life, but I want to give you guys permission today. If you are in a relationship you hate, it's New Year's, you can change. It's like if you're in a business that you're not happy with, you can change. And he said that like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, I can change. I really can. And like, sometimes we're so stuck in like, oh, we can't because it's like, no, just stop. Just change. Be like, no, like this vehicle I'm in sucks. I can keep sitting in here trying and trying and trying and trying. If I'm stuck at 40 grand a year and I'm miserable, if you're happy at 40 grand a year, then don't worry about it. Like, sweet, that's what you want. But if you're not happy, the vehicle probably sucks, number one, or you suck. That's it. So pick a new vehicle or improve yourself. Garrett White, I have a quote in the book. At one of our events, he's like, you got to understand this. At first, you're going to suck. And then eventually, you're going to suck less. And if you keep doing it, eventually you'll suck, what do you say? You suck so less, so little, eventually you'll actually be good, or whatever he said, right? Yeah. And it's true, like, so either the vehicle sucks or you suck. And if you suck, you got to fix yourself. You got to learn how to sell. You got to learn how to create offers that are good. You have to learn how to, like, get more people in. And if you have a big market, you only have 12 people on your list, like, okay, it's time for you to get some skills to get people in or partner with the right people who can do that. But it's either one or two things. Either the market sucks or you suck. And so you got to be okay with that. And if the market sucks, change. If you suck, change. It's time to learn these things, time to make these skills, time to start figuring this stuff out, finding your voice, getting your results, having certainty, serving people first. Start shifting away from trying to make money, shifting back to how to get results for people. And if you do that, all those other pieces will come into play. And if there's things, again, here's a Gary Vaynerchuk thing again, but I agree with him on this. He keeps talking about like, if you're good at something, like double, triple down on your good things, don't worry about your bad things. Like if you suck at selling, some of you guys I think should learn how to sell. If you're really, really bad at it, you shouldn't. Find somebody, bring someone on your team, build a team. Like I don't do everything here. We have 100 and something employees now here at ClickFunnels because I can't do everything. You can't do everything. So find someone that believes in your mission and what you're trying to do and what you're trying to create. Bring those people in and build a team and have someone like, you're the sales guy. Like when we started ClickFunnels initially, we had a bunch of people, but the 3 founding partners were me, Todd Dickerson, and Dylan Jones. Todd can code. I can't. I can sell like crazy and talk and get excited. Todd can't. Dylan, same thing. Like we each had our own thing and independently we could have done it. In fact, we all had tried independently and had mild successes. But together it became something that was huge. And so start building your team of people that their strengths complement your weaknesses, and that's a huge part. All right, got 1:47 left. We got time for one more question.
One more.
Before we break for the day.
Sounds good. Well, it kind of ties into what you were just talking about. It says, I don't want to be the face of my business. What are my options?
Cool. So if you don't want to be the face of your business, first off, ask yourself why. Like, is it because you're nervous and you're worried and like, if that's you and you're nervous and worried, then I would say like you've got to learn the skill. Like I was nervous and worried, and like, but when I jumped out there, that's when it worked. So that's one thing. If number two, if like it doesn't make logical sense, like you're really, really bad on camera, or you hate writing, or you hate or whatever that thing is, or you're the technician or whatever, then it's building a team. Okay. Again, like when Todd, Dylan, and I partnered up, it was like, okay, well, Russell, you're the face. Todd, you're the brains. Dylan, you're the brains. Like they got to do the stuff, and I just got to be the one excited, right? And so that makes sense as well. But it's key that you understand. Like part of the reason I wrote this book is I want my team to understand. Like all these things weave together. Everything we're doing ties into this expert concept. So it's not like, okay, cool, you're the expert, dude. You take care of it, and I'm just gonna go back to coding. Like no, like understand that because all these things weave together. I got to understand what they're doing. They got to understand what I'm doing because it all amplifies if you do it correctly. So either master it, like be okay, master it, or find somebody who can be part of your team and bring that person on to be that person. So, well, cool, man. Well, everyone, did you guys have a good time today? I hope.
It's good stuff.
That was fun.
Those are good questions.
So the game plan for tomorrow, again, we're starting at 9 Mountain, which is 11 Eastern. We will be again at ExpertSecrets Masterclass.com. You can see it there. It will be streaming live. The schedule's there as well. So if you have questions you want for tomorrow, go to ExpertSecretsMasterclass.com. You can ask questions there for tomorrow's sessions. Again, the first session I'll be talking is the key. It's going to talk about big domino, story selling, knocking it. Like that's the very, very important key thing to selling. So make sure you're there. And then I'm going to actually do a sales presentation live for you guys so you can watch it, you can critique it, you can learn from it. And that's going to be happening tomorrow starting at 11 Eastern, 9 Mountain, which is 8 Pacific. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're coming, comment down below, let us know you're coming. Share this, let other people know. This recording should be live for the next 24 hours or so. So if you want to watch it or share it, go and watch it. Let everyone know, and then we'll be pulling it down because this is an actual live training course we're recording. It's not just this is something cool we want to do for you guys, but this is something we're going to be selling in the future. So the recordings will not be live forever, but they're live right now. So please watch them, share them, and that's the game plan. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Woo.
ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels like funnels.
ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels? Like, again, so cliche, but it's a f***ing game changer.
Funnel Hacking Live is the one event that you need to be at. Having the skill set of knowing how to build funnels is the single most valued skill set.
I think there's a difference between watching it done and actually doing it yourself. I would say that that's the main difference.
Funnel Hackathon is super 100% hands-on. It's literally, here's what we need to do. Now we're all gonna do it together. There's none of that when I fly home tomorrow, because it's done.
This event is most suited for people who want to accelerate their story to the market.
You're really developing something. You're leaving with something very tangible.
This will give you the right mentality to be able to succeed no matter what industry.
You know, when you have Russell around you all the time, all of a sudden, things don't seem unrealistic. It's just I can do this.
You enter his world where he is, and you can just see him in action. And the great thing, that action is within your business.
It's nonstop. I mean, we were at it from 9 a.m. to midnight, just learning, implementing, sharing.
It's so cool that I'm going to leave with a product that's going to make me a lot of money.
And here it's a totally safe, vulnerable space where you can just be like, I suck at this stuff. What am I supposed to do here? And then you have guys who have done exactly what you want to do or have done 10 times anything you've ever thought of right there next to you saying, hey, have you thought of this? Do you think that would work for you? And you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I should start doing that.
I learned more in that compressed period of time than I had in almost the 2 years of being inside of ClickFunnels.
I would pay any amount of money if I could come back and do that every month or two.
So if you're looking for an opportunity to work with amazing people and work under the guidance of somebody who really knows what they're doing and be able to get things done, it's unbeatable.
If you hate money, then this event is not for you, because it's just going to get you more money and you're going to make an impact in the world doing what you love most.
So we've been married for 11 years now.
11 and a half.
And this guy is awesome, but he's like a crazy entrepreneur guy. And so he always has all these ideas, and some of them are amazing, and some of them are crazy. And we've been doing real estate for about 9 years now, and we've done really well there, and we've systematized that. And he got to where he had a lot of free time, and we've always worked together. And there was this problem where I'd be doing things around the house, and he's following me around, and I'm like, you need to find something to do.
Whoa, come on. It wasn't that bad.
And so he started to hear kind of about online marketing. We always knew that if we could get online or learn how to market online, and how we could kind of open up our world to other things besides just the real estate, because as we love real estate, it can also be risky. And so we kind of wanted to mitigate some of that risk and kind of go into some different areas. And so we started to hear, this guy, Russell Brunson, and we hear his name everywhere we go. We're like, who is this Russell guy? And I think you went on a binge of checking out podcasts. And
yeah, someone told me about one of his podcasts, and I was coming home from Tampa and layovers and just listened to I think 80 podcasts. Maybe that's exaggerating, but listened to a lot of podcasts on the way home and just thought it was amazing. But then at the same time, okay, I heard him talking about funnels, and then someone else was telling me about a funnel, and so we went and hired this guy to help us create a funnel, because we had been doing online marketing for about a year, just over a year at the time, but we had some struggles. We thought it was gonna be a lot easier than it was, right? Yeah. And our message just wasn't getting out there. We weren't finding the people we wanted. So we found this guy who was gonna create this funnel, and we didn't even know what a funnel was before that, right?
No, we thought we were like, we have this awesome real estate package, we're gonna put it online,
and people are gonna
oh, I'll take that.
We do well, and we thought everyone else was gonna wanna learn how to do it, and it's it was really kind of a letdown.
Deflating, somewhat depressing.
We almost threw in the towel several times. We paid this guy $20,000 to create this funnel for us, and he said, a funnel takes a long time, and it's really involved, and so after 90 days, I finally gave up on the guy, because we were spending $20,000 so far. It was $5,000 a month. It was just ridiculous, and he hadn't done anything. And we'd heard more about Russell, and we knew he had this event coming up, and we're like, okay, we just gotta go. We went, and before that event, we knew he had his Inner Circle coaching program, but we're like, no, we're not. You know, we've been scammed before by other high ticket sales and stuff like that. And we're not paying for this. And after one day, what did we both do?
We got his book because we've been hearing all about it, and we're like, this Russell guy, he must be amazing. We hear these people and they're having these cool stories, and we get this book, and we couldn't wait because we're super impatient. And so we get the audio, and we're both listening to it, and I'm on the beach running, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Like, we're not doing any of this. We need all this stuff. But we know there's this Inner Circle group, and we're like, we don't need that. We got this. We got this by ourselves. So we're both like, okay, you don't say yes, I don't say yes. Robbie, we're not gonna do this. And so we show up when we see Russell on the stage, and we see Liz, and we see all these guys doing all these really cool things, and we're like, we're somewhat new to the online world.
Yeah,
like,
need some guidance.
Let's figure out exactly how to do it. Let's see the people who are doing it, and let's join this super cool group. And we were sold, we were in.
We had no doubt that he would very shortly help us, our online business turn into a 7-figure business. There's no doubt. And it's only been 6 months, but that's the trajectory we're on.
Yeah, so in 6 months, Russell's done for us in that amount of time what it took us 6 years in the real estate world to build. I mean, we've made over $500,000 just in that 6 months. Just joining that Inner Circle group, being able to box Russell. For a long time we went back and forth on, we had this great coaching program. Should we do a high-end coaching program? We're like, no, we don't want to be that guy who sells the thing.
Think it was a thought until we
No, and then we go to this group and everybody's doing all these really neat things, and then we're boxing Russell, and the group is telling us, you need to do this and you can. And so we did it, we tried it. We just threw it out there knowing it was an awesome program, but we were kind of afraid to sell it.
And this was 2.5 months ago.
2.5 months ago.
Coaching program.
We don't have a sales guy. We didn't do the way we sold it perfectly. We're still somewhat new, but we got 13 people to sign up and pay us $25,000, and they're now part of this super sharp group, all because of just joining Inner Circle and being able to be around these people. Because naturally what we do as human beings is we get around these smart, successful people that inspire us, and what do we want to do? Like, I want to fit in, right? And so I lift myself and I learn and I stretch and I try to do different things, and that group has done that for us. So now we're like, holy cow, the world's our oyster. We have so many ideas, it's exciting.
Getting to know him and being able to work with him has just been it's been a huge blessing for our life. And now we just tell everybody about him. Like, Russell, he's like this wizard and he can change your life and he's a genius, and he's like, oh my gosh. Sometimes they think it's amazing, sometimes they're like, what?
And what I love too is that, we have 3 kids. And so it is very important that I spend time with those kids, and I'm there at their important times. And I feel like this online marketing world, we can systematize it and we can get people to help us, and I can share and do what we feel like we can do, but I also have freedom to, be with my kids in the morning, take them to their sports, do their homework with them, and spend all that time with them.
This year we know we'll do 7 figures, that's our goal. And to do that in such a short period of time, it's just mind-blowing, and the way that you can scale it, and it's been pretty cool.
All from a guy who couldn't push play on the DVD player on one of our first dates, now to being an online techie guy.
You said you wouldn't bring that up anymore. Gee.
So I go to this Tony Robbins event like 12 months ago, and I'm rocking the house, like things are going crazy. The event completely changed my life because I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins. And the third day, the last day I was there, Transformation Day, which is like, you're already on this crazy high from Tony Robbins. Like, you walked on fire and you're like, yes, yes. And I go to the water fountain and I meet this guy for like 2 minutes, and it was just a strange passing, like nothing was serious about it. And I got his name and I got his number. And after the event, when I'm driving home, I actually get a call from this guy that I'd met for 2 minutes, and he goes, hey Mike, it's Matthew from the water fountain. I'm like, Matthew from the water fountain? And he goes, I met you, Tony Robbins. I was like, oh yeah, hey, what's up, man? And he was like, listen, I know you're driving back to Tampa, because that's where I live. He's like, I know you're driving back to Tampa. Let me get a ride with you. And I was like, no. I was like, oh, okay. So I pulled into a gas station and I waited for him for like 20 minutes to meet me so I can give him a ride. And as we were driving back up to Tampa, we started talking about the event, and we were excited. And he's telling me about his past, because I didn't know this guy. And he starts telling me about this thing that he's super into, which is called internet marketing. And at this time, I had no idea what internet marketing was. We started talking about building businesses and just painting this whole future, and we were still on fire from Tony. So I drop him off and nothing really comes of it. But like a week later, I get a call from Matthew again. And he's like, Mike, I'm doing this thing, Inner Circle Mastermind. you gotta call this number. I'm gonna text it to you. You gotta call this number and talk to this guy. He's gonna tell you all about it. But I'm doing it, I'm in, and you have to do it with me. You have to promise you. I'm like, okay, dude, I'll do it with you, whatever. And I call this guy, and I start talking to him, and he tells me about this program called the Inner Circle Mastermind, and it's you team up with this guy named Russell Brunson, who's this internet marketing guru, and he's changed all these people's lives. And I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. I don't know what internet marketing is, you know? I talked about it in a car for 3 hours. I talked to this guy who was telling me about this program. He's like, Mike, and he sells me on. He's like, you're learning this. You're gonna build businesses. You're gonna drive traffic. And I'm like, this sounds really cool. You're gonna make a lot of money. And by the way, your buddy's doing it with you. And I was like, cool, fun. He's like, all right, so the program costs, he told me the cost of the program, he said it was $25,000. And I was like, and at this time, I had just dropped out of college, and I took all my money from my college fund and was gonna live off it for the year. Because I dropped out of college and I moved to Tampa. Like I moved across the country to Tampa, and I only had $28,000 in the bank. And so my plan was to get a job, to kind of figure out my life, to build it, just kind of figure it out. I had no intention of spending $25,000 on a program. I'm like, all right, well that sounds good. Like I gotta talk to Matthew before I make any decisions. So I hang up with this guy, I call Matthew, and I'm like, dude, this program is $25,000. Are you kidding me? Like an Inner Circle Mastermind? He's like, trust me, Russell knows everything about internet marketing. Like don't worry. Like I'm doing it with you, we're gonna crush together, we're gonna build business. Mike, this is the dreams we talked about in the car. So I'm like, all right, man, like 25, I can't, no, this doesn't go past me and you. My dad's gonna freaking hate me. He's like, don't worry, just sign over just give him the check and we'll be good. So I call this guy back, I write a check for $25,000. I'm like, all right, I'm in. I send it to him, and I'm pumped up. I'm like, oh, you know, going to Boise in a month, because that was when the event was, and I call Matthew back. I'm like, Matthew, I'm in, I bought it, let's do it. Like, it's rock, come over and let's plan out our trip. And he goes, dude, that's so awesome, I'm not doing the program. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm not doing it, like, I don't have the money for it. I'm thinking like, what, dude? Like I just bought this program for $25,000, you're not gonna do it? So I was sitting in my room like, I gotta return this program, I'm freaking out. Only got $3,000 for a whole year. I don't know what internet marketing is. So I fly out, and I'm there for a couple days, and in that process, I had learned more about internet marketing than I felt like. It was like a waterfall of information. And I took that, and over the last 8 months, I mean, just to credit it, last week I made more in one check last week than I've made all last year. Doing the traditional building business or working a job, I made more in that week. So Matthew calls me up like 3 weeks ago. I'm starting to make money, I'm doing good. Matthew calls me up and he's like, Mike, dude, how are you doing? I'm like, oh, great. I've been in Russell's mastermind. Thanks, by the way. And he's like, oh, that's awesome, man. Listen, I needed some help. I'm really stuck. And I could just sense on the phone like he was just struggling, right? And what's crazy is like, cause me and him were in the car like less than a year ago talking about building businesses online. And we were both had these visions and these plans, and I'm like hitting all the goals that I was talking about in the car. Like my first 5-figure check in a week, done. Being able to help pay my parents, you know, being able to really give back to the people I care about. And I'm doing all these things that I was telling him about, and he hasn't moved at all. He's still in the exact same place. And some people might even think he's regressing, but he's in the exact same place. And what shocked me was like, I was like, Matthew, dude, you just should have joined the program with me. Like, you're in the place that we were at a year ago. And I'm talking about, I'm living the things that we were talking about. For the people who are thinking about signing up with the program or joining the mastermind or the Ignite program, and I think that if you look at my story, someone who 8 months ago didn't know anything about internet marketing, anything at all, to now traveling the world, hanging out with people from all types of internet backgrounds, making a good living for myself. There's no reason that anyone couldn't do this if you teamed up with the right group. And that's what the mastermind did for me. It got me around people who were thinking on a different level than me. Because it's not like functionally it's hard, right? Technically it's not hard with the programs that we have today and with all the resources that we have. But you have to believe that you can do it. And the only way that I was able to do that was by just getting off the phone with
Russell's guys and saying, all right, like, I believe that you can take me where I want to go. Like, I have faith that this program is going to elevate my thinking. And that is what everyone needs to do. And that's why everyone needs this program. Everyone needs to come out to Boise and everyone needs to hang out in the mastermind. It's the greatest decision anyone could make, hands down.